Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Nice to see the boys out there getting some work in, you know.
They're very excited to see Dupes.
They were.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're all coming out.
Dupes, what's up? My guy, there he is.
How's your music going? How's your cousin? Maybe you'll recreate their podcast right there on the stage.
Do it, dudes.
Have them do a podcast.
Dudes on stage at the Hall of Fame.
Again, it's not a great name.
Paul,
I don't tell you what to do.
I thought you
I
were.
hated that opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't think that's a difference? You were mad at everybody.
I'm not mad. I'm just surprised. I said I was
I think
surprised.
you said you were mad at the beginning of the show.
I said I was
Did you?
surprised. No, I said
I think the quote
A little
was,
snippy today.
I'm upset that they didn't think like me.
I thought that the fans would think the way I was thinking and say, okay, Vinatieri first.
This is the difference between me and you. I don't tell people how they should think. This is back to you requiring people learn about the history.
You probably thought the SS Minnow was a little fish, right?
That one I knew.
Jaws is
Moby
coming
Dick,
back
right?
out.
Moby Dick.
See?
Oh my God.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, and it's kind of a sad day in Boston sports. And of course, I'm talking about the Tristan Casas injury.
Right.
Which happened a week
Really
ago.
derailed the Red Sox.
I fell flat.
No, Celtics. I was telling somebody today, I think it was you, Evan.
Oh.
It doesn't approach 07 when the Patriots lost to the Giants, but if they lose to the Knicks in this series, it'll come close. It'll come close.
Oh,
They're
boy.
not even in the same
I was.
stratosphere as that.
I think it'd be a bigger upset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's a bigger difference between the two teams.
Yep.
I mean, I know we don't want to talk Celtics, but yesterday I was in the middle of just a rager between all y'all. Going for it, and Paul was just in his element. Like, I've never seen Paul so excited in his life. He's facilitating arguments left and right. He's on Fred's side. He's on Evan's side. And Matt Smith, no socks, comes in.
I was switching allegiances. I was gaslighting everybody. It was
He's like,
awesome.
"Isn't this great? We're all arguing. I love it." So after I saw the result this morning, of course, because I did not watch the game last night, I was like, "Oh boy, we might be in for it today." But so far, so good.
You legitimately woke up this morning.
I watched a little
didn't
bit
know
last
who won the game
Well, I
last
watched
night.
a little last night. I thought 20-point leads were safe, and I was like, "This is never going to happen twice
like,
in a
I'm
row."
not,
I've
like,
been tweeted
incredulous
too
that
in
you
the
didn't.
third quarter. Evan had a tweet. Oh,
I
the
sat
Knicks
there
took
and-
the same timeout, down 18.
I sat
to
there
the
in
Celtics.
silence for the last 18 minutes of game time.
Just dead face.
And at one point, Jess was like, "Are you alive?" And I was like, "I can just feel it. Like
it's coming.
here comes the same movie again."
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you didn't watch because I know you don't really. But
Little bit.
you legitimately didn't know who won
Well,
until this morning.
Well, I was
He
reading
found
reading
out
my
this
book.
morning. I said
That amazes me.
I wish I
That's
was
great.
more like that. Like I wish I was Deuce in this situation. I really do.
I love watching.
I did watch a little bit.
Watching
Honestly,
the
I
games.
assumed that it would go to plan, but it did not.
Yeah, I was actually mad last night. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is so unnecessary.
I was mad the first time. Last night, I was like, the audacity of them
No, like
to
the
play
first time,
basketball
like
this
things
again.
happen.
They deserve it.
Yeah. Okay. Oklahoma lost and Cleveland lost. Like, these things happen, but to do it again, and
Well,
I don't care
Cleveland
what
did
the
it
other
again,
teams
too.
did.
Yeah.
To do it twice, like, I was angry.
Yeah.
I was angry.
I didn't
But-
want to
but
mansplain
enough-
basketball to this kid, but
Oh, shout out to the listener. I didn't get into any Twitter fights, but I was going back and forth with it because I said that the Celtics should just stop throwing up these threes in the first game. And some guy quote tweeted me and was like, they would lose the game if they did that, FYI, and was just being lame. So I was going back and forth with him, and he was just like, the shots they're just not falling. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it has nothing to do with the Knicks defense totally taking them out of tempo, but okay. But one of our listeners was like, I need the sound drop from PU here, you know which one. And I was like, yes, I wish I could just.
Well, Anthony says, I just want to say a shout out to Alex. She's been one of the only people on Celtics Twitter who has been confident in them, critical of them, and also gave props to the Knicks rather than discredit them. Signed, a Patriots and Knicks fan. How can you be a Patriots and Knicks fan? I thought he meant Celtics.
Well, people are like
That's tough.
delusional. They really are like, the shots will fall eventually. The shots just aren't falling. And it's like the Knicks were literally built to contend
Okay, eventually
with the
can be the
Celtics.
next game. In this game, they're not falling. Adjust.
And
You know?
you have Bridges, you have Hart, Anobli. Like, they are very elite wing defenders.
I'm not going to mansplain anything because I don't want to get yelled at by you, but this has very little to do with the Knicks. Very, very
I
little.
disagree. I disagree.
Jason Tatum standing all by himself in the corner to
But
take
the
a wide
Knicks
open shot
are
with 20 minutes to
taking-
load it up and not even coming close to making it has nothing to do with the Knicks.
But
And
he's
don't get me on the rebounds. How
Tatum
many of
is-
his rebounds does everyone vacates
Tatum's
and
like
he just
12
rebounds the ball and he gets credit for that?
Tatum's like
Yes, when
12
he
for
rebounds the
42.
basketball, he
He's like
gets
12
credit
for
it.
40 something this series. That can't have nothing to do with the Knicks. They're totally taking them out of their
There's
game.
60
They've
players
totally
that have
taken them out
attempted
of
50
their
or more
rhythm.
three-pointers in the last 2 playoffs. He ranks 58th.
And they need
They
to
haven't
just
played
make
all
an
those games.
adjustment.
They only played 2
need
games
to go
against
to the
the Knicks.
hoop. They need to run sets instead of settling for just stupid
But that's
threes.
the way they play.
Yeah.
And they should change that. They should make adjustments.
I agree. But it doesn't have anything to do with the Knicks.
It
it's
does.
how they play.
They've purposely built this team to defend the
to not
the
be able to
Jays
compete
on
in the
wing.
regular season, but come back from 20-point deficits in the postseason. Like, this is just
Well, the Celtics are the more
Choking, call
talented
it.
team, and that has allowed them to get out to these big leads, but they're not executing. The Knicks are executing, and that's why they're coming back.
It's it's
when
the
you miss
Celtics.
14 shots in a row in the fourth quarter. That's not defense.
When you're that much better and you get a 20-point lead twice in a row, there's something wrong with you. Not
Not
there's
them.
something good with them.
I give the Knicks
I
credit for
give
The
credit
Knicks
executing
have
in the last
taken them
minute,
out of their
but
rhythm. The Celtics control the tempo when they play the way they should be playing, and the Knicks have totally taken that ability away from them.
All right, so the Knicks are a better team then.
No,
I don't think that. I
They're-
still
these
think
teams-
the Celtics could win.
these teams aren't close in
know.
talent.
I
I
know.
still think the Celtics could win the series. They
I do
just need
too,
to-
but they're
I
gonna
know
have.
we
I'm
sound
pulling
like-
a deuce on this one.
We sound like arrogant Boston fans, but they're not. These teams aren't close.
The Celtics. They're the balls.
I mean,
There's
pretty
no
good.
other way around it.
they are
That's
quite
pretty good.
literally
Because the Celtics are the ball.
close if the Knicks have a 2-0 series lead. You can't just say that the Celtics are.
So much better.
They're a better
so
team.
much better. Yeah, I agree.
I
They're more
mean,
talented.
they
They're
might
not
lose.
executing.
Upsets
They
happen
need to
in
run
playoffs.
plays. They need to run
Usually
sets.
not in that
they
league.
need to go to the hoop.
That like especially over the course of a 7-game series, you don't see a ton of upsets
Like-
happen in the NBA because the better team over a 7-game stretch is
I agree.
going to win 4 out of 7.
And
but,
that's why I still think the Celtics will win, but I'm not going to be stunned if they don't.
I mean, it really just. I know that there's a lot of people that like have the minutia conversations of all these little details, and like if the Jays don't play better, they're not going to win. Like it's really that simple. I mean, like that's the sport. Like if your best players don't play better, they're not going to win. Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in Game 1 in the second half were 5 for 22. They were 1 for 10 in the fourth quarter last night. Like if they play like that, they're not going to win the series.
Yep. All right, let's talk Patriots.
Okay.
Rookie minicamp
Hey.
is getting going.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll have access, so we'll be out there and reporting what we see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year we did it. It was about an hour, little 7-on-7, but a lot of getting the rookies to understand how practice goes, where we want you to be. It's a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
the logistics. It's
So
not a real practice.
It's not real practice. It's in shorts. I think they're going to be inside because it's going to rain.
Yeah.
So rather than just be in the elements, you want to like have an environment where you can teach and instruct, and so they're going to be inside tomorrow.
It's a lot more exciting last year when you had a rookie, Drake May. That was the big thing. Because no matter what Drake May was doing last year, you'd be interested
Well,
to
it's
see
also
it.
just like even when they get into 7-on-7, no disrespect at all to Ben Woolridge, but like none of us are there to watch Ben Woolridge. Whereas last year you had May, you had Polk and Baker,
Right.
they had.
It's be a lot of like, throw it to Kyle Williams. We want to see Kyle Williams. Throw it to him.
You're going to have my boy Jake Wilcox, too, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean usually they throw in
Another
like
Everett boy in the NFL.
they throw in like 1 7-on-7 usually
Yeah.
towards the end just
Yeah,
to
it's
like
for fun.
appease everybody,
Yeah, right.
players included, I'm sure.
It's like Will Campbell.
Yeah.
No sacks allowed. It's gonna be great tomorrow
Yeah.
for him.
No-
Great
yeah,
start.
no pressures, clean
no
sheet.
pressure. No.
All right, so that'll be tomorrow, and then they'll also be practicing on Saturday.
Yeah,
And,
3-day camp, and
yeah.
then and we should see not next week, but the week after OTAs will start. So we'll get OTAs for 3 weeks before minicamp. So that'll be full team access to. I think it's still it's voluntary at that point still, right? So
Yep.
see who we see, but I mean probably a little bit more interesting because you have some vets there,
Yep.
kind of know what they're doing.
And then next week on Wednesday, the league is releasing the schedule, 8 o'clock on NFL Network. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's I always think it's interesting to go back and after the draft and look a little bit at the schedule because it just changes a little bit. You see teams now that you're going to see some, rookie players that have changed some of the dynamics a little bit. But the Patriots schedule, man, it's winnable. I mean, it's just not a great schedule.
Well, they're looking at us, too, and they're saying,
Right.
our schedule, it's winnable.
And that goes back to what Vrabel, I think, said when he got here,
That's
which
why I
was
split all those games.
beat the bad teams, take advantage of bad football. But,
Yeah.
the Steelers, very different.
Over
Traded
under.
Pickens.
Over under, primetime games, 2 and a hay.
I'd go under on that.
I'll go under.
Yeah, if you said 1 and a hay, I might.
I'd go over on one. I
might
think
go
two.
over.
Yeah.
Maybe a Thursday and a
Because
Monday.
you got to get a Thursday, right? So
You
do
have to
count
have a
that one?
Thursday. Yeah.
No. Outside of the
Do
Thursday
you have
one.
to have a Thursday?
Yeah, I think every team has to have a Thursday now.
Yeah.
But that's where the schedule release is where I pull a deuce.
What's that?
Thursday morning, I find out what the schedule is.
Well, we're doing
Wake up,
we're doing a
check it
video
out.
Thursday at 11, so look at it by then.
I am?
Yes.
Do a
The
little
crew.
talk to him.
I get to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
He acts like we don't include him 99%
I
of the time.
don't, in fairness, I don't act like you and Mike don't include me.
Yeah.
No,
You and Mike are my
you bring
boys.
all the
You guys
bring all the
include me-
views.
You guys include me in everything.
Saying I'm allowed to come like every other
So
video
wake up,
pretty much.
check out the
Except for when they
schedule.
leave to radio without you, and I'm like, Paul, you coming?
No, we never
He's doing
do
his
that.
crosswords.
Alex
We don't
doesn't leave
interrupt
without
him.
me.
It's like he's got his glasses on. He's in the crosswords.
Yeah,
and
we
it's,
don't interrupt that.
But I was
usually
gonna
done with the crossword by 11:30. Come on.
More respect
That's
to that.
that's a 9 a.m. thing.
The point I was trying to make, though, going way back, was Steelers trading Pickens. Kind of the big news of the last couple days, which I'm sure we'll get some calls about people being.
That's a Mike Dussault
upset.
trade.
Yeah.
You got to
All right.
rid the potential headaches.
Well,
Right,
I
clear
mean,
the decks.
Well, aside from clear the
Too
decks,
good at football.
it's been really interesting.
Too much talent.
It's been really interesting seeing some of the history, though, of the Steelers when they've traded away good wide receivers and how their production has fallen off a cliff. So it's a little bit of a buyer beware kind of situation when they got rid of Antonio Brown and
Certainly.
Juju, and there's a number of examples that people laid out. Some more interesting than others.
I'm going to guess they left
Latavius
Emmanuel
Bryant.
Sanders off that list.
Shoot, I think he was on there though.
He was great.
Yeah,
He was
but
better,
that's a
better
good
in Denver
example.
than he was in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, with Peyton.
So,
Yeah.
is Rodgers going to end up going to Pittsburgh or
Well,
not?
that's what I
Seems
was
like it.
thinking.
And then
But is that
Seems like it?
Yeah, to Pittsburgh, yeah, and then
Why?
That's just what the tea leaves have been this whole time, and why they didn't really draft a quarterback. And
But that
you know.
move to me, getting rid of Pickens, like that's part of the appeal.
Well,
would
I think that
to
they're actually
Rodgers,
going
like,
to.
just DK.
It
And,
sounds like it's gonna. Alan Lazard will come with them because that's like his Julian Edelman,
bring his
right,
posse.
or whatever.
feel the excitement.
Yeah,
Steelers.
and so
Aaron Rodgers and his old friends.
they drafted Roman Wilson last year, who had injuries his rookie season, but player I was high on. I'm sure they're pretty high on him. So he plays in the slot. DK plays the outside. Lazard comes as like the number 3.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers at quarterback.
I see.
I think that's the plan. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
think that's the plan.
I think it's an interesting year in Pittsburgh. I was listening to a Pittsburgh writer, I think, was on a clip that they played. It's the least talented Pittsburgh team in like a decade on paper.
Yeah.
You never know how it all unfolds. And people were sort of going back and forth. Are they trying to tank or are they going to sign Rodgers, which, because it doesn't make sense that they made the move for DK Metcalf and then gave him that contract if you're looking to get, say, Arch Manning or whoever next year. And, Arch Manning doesn't even look like he's going to be eligible next year anyway. But then, if they sign Aaron Rodgers, like Evan says, well, that's not tanking. So what exactly are you doing? How are you filling the holes in the roster? If they do
they'll
tank,
be 8 and 9, 9 and 8
I'd get
again,
out
like
to
they always
T.J.
are.
Watt. If they're going to tank, do it right.
Yeah, right. Get rid of guys. But it's such a different. I just have such an impression of Pittsburgh as draft and develop kind of team, not really a free agency made team. And this year, it seems like that's the direction they're going to
It
be.
would just be weird the way that they ran their whole offseason to not have the Rodgers move in the back pocket.
Right.
And they drafted Will Howard in the 6th round. That's not a move at quarterback. So I would imagine that that's where this is headed, but we'll see. I don't know. I know, with Pickens, he's one of those guys. He's a volatile guy. He's a really talented player.
I can see both sides of that argument.
Yeah.
Keeping him and trading him, I totally understand what would cause you to do both?
Well, when you have a confidence that you've developed receivers consistently in the past, you might be a little bit more apt to be willing to part with him than if you've been in the wilderness looking for a number one wide receiver since Randy Mosslock.
I mean, they have this streak of, seasons, not below 500.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's important to them?
100%.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's important to Tomlin. Like, I can't imagine Pittsburgh going in the tank ever. Like, because of that, I just don't see them as a team that will ever truly reset. I know Paul shows like to say they're the Bruins of the NFL, and I feel the same way about them as I always did. Like, the Bruins were always just gonna make the playoffs, right? Be above 500. We're happy with that. That's the Steelers.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, I mean, I don't think they're certainly not on the same par, but when the Patriots signed Cam, what's his name?
Newton.
Cam Newton. It was like, okay, let's bring in this guy and stay competitive.
Yeah.
Rather than just kind of let the bottom fall out.
I think that's accurate.
So
it's a good comparison.
That season.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect, having gone through the downs now the last couple of years, just for a team to, and even I know how frustrating it must be for a fan base to be stuck in that middle and not ever be able to kind of really feel like you're favorites, but never feel like you're at the bottom. But I do respect continued competitiveness, because even the coaching staff didn't change here in 2022 and 23, and it's still continued to fall apart. And the way they've held it together is impressive. I mean, I think we all are more impressed with Mike Tomlin, having seen Antonio Brown up close. We talked about that.
Sure.
Man, he kept him on the straight and narrow for a while, and he's kind of done. Maybe we'll see the same thing with George Pickens. Maybe George Pickens.
But that fan base
Dallas
is getting a little bit impatient.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they're in
Tomlin
purgatory.
Tomlin was on the hot seat last year.
Yeah.
Well,
I think people were tired of this.
in terms of the public, I don't know if like the Rooneys put him on the hot seat, but the public put him on the hot seat.
But it's hard because
How do you pull the trigger on a guy that is respected? But
but like if you're in purgatory like that, like you're never in a position to really get those blue chip players at the top of the draft that like could turn the tide. Like they got drafted Ben Roethlisberger and were a good team for a very long time with him. Like they're not drafting high enough to get the next Ben Roethlisberger. So it's just like, at some point, either you need to make a massive trade up in the draft and really make a splash move during the draft, or you have to stink.
Yeah, it's the quarterback position. Like, how are they going to fill the quarterback position?
Yeah.
That's where we were a couple years ago. Like, trying to figure out, not only do you have to probably get into the top 5, but you have to have the right draft where there are a number of prospects that could possibly fall to you that you like. So,
I mean, having that guy, that franchise quarterback, makes it so much easier to do everything else.
and if Rodgers comes, what do you say? Like,
Well, he's 1 or 2 years.
hopefully
at most.
good.
Yeah.
But I guess in a way, if it all falls apart for him, then that's what they say. But he should be good enough, you would think, to keep them out of the range for. I think there's a few good quarterbacks next year.
I'm not even really that good.
Other than just Arch Manning, are you guys convinced Arch Manning is like legit?
I don't
Number
know.
one overall
He's
pick?
very talented.
I mean, I've seen him at
I'm
Spurs.
reasonably convinced on the talent, but he hasn't played enough, so
Yeah.
no one can tell that yet.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced he's going to leave, even if he has a great year. I think that it would go kind of sort of to what the Mannings do.
Yeah, but he's going to get paid big time to stay
Right.
with
And
NIL.
he doesn't need it.
Yeah. But he's I think the biggest difference between him and he's mobile. He can run.
Yeah.
He's a dual threat. He's not Peyton and Eli. He's not a statue.
It's funny
because
because Archie was a scrambler.
He's like more like the
more like
grandfather.
Archie.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. So he's got tons of talent. The games that he did play in last year when they let him, play kind of against like Bemidji State or whatever the heck it was in that game, he played really well. But there was a clear talent gap across the roster in that game. So it's not just him, but he's got all the tools, but he's never really done it. So we'll see. I mean, it doesn't bode particularly well. And I get that maybe there was promises made and all that kind of stuff, but like Quinn Ewers stinks. And they continued to run Quinn Ewers out there last year with Arch Manning on the bench. Like if Arch Manning was really this like prodigy, Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, like they're not playing Quinn Ewers in big time playoff games and stuff like that. So that does give me a slight pause, unless there was some sort of handshake agreement that Quinn Ewers wasn't going to get benched. But
Yeah.
possible.
It is what happened to Brady.
Right.
Everybody said, why is this other guy playing? Well,
Yeah.
he's this hotshot recruit, Drew Henson. Yeah, we got to get him in there.
Yeah.
You know, like Quinn Ewers was the #1 recruit in football when he came out. I agree with Evan. He's a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's very,
Where did he land?
very average.
I didn't
I don't know. Miami, maybe?
Yeah.
He is bad.
Yeah.
He's bad at football.
Bad is probably strong,
no,
but
he's bad at football.
I mean, he's a 7th-round pick. Evan's right. He's,
You know
like,
how-
he
what
played
did
behind
the-
a guy who went in the 7th round.
What did Rex Ryan say about Mac with the pea shooter? That's Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
He's got a little squirt gun. You know, like
He has
that-
a little more mobility to his
That's
game,
Quinn
though.
Ewers.
But
Anyway.
I can't argue. I don't think Quinn Ewers is.
That's your Quinn
That's very
Ewers
good.
minute.
He's got a little squirt gun.
All right. Well, last show we talked a lot about Hall of Fame. We have some emails that came in about that. Tyler from Ludlow responding to Tuesday's show. I feel like I have to step in to defend Gostkowski as being a team Hall of Famer. Already in the team Hall of Fame are the team leaders in passing, rushing, yards, and touchdowns, receiving yards. Gronk will be in there soon for touchdowns, interceptions, forced fumbles, and sacks. If a player retires as the clear leader in points, Vinatieri is second with more than 600 points separating them. They should be in the team Hall of Fame. Not saying he needs to be first ballot, but he is well deserving of a spot in the Hall. Agree or not?
Disagree.
Yeah.
Disagree.
I disagree too.
I mean, I think a lot of those points were tied directly to some of the highest scoring offenses in NFL history as
Right.
well. So, you know, if you want to maybe break it down like by kicks, I mean, I think that'd be interesting just to look at generally. Take some of the extra
He
points
was a
out
really
of the
good kicker.
equation. But he was
Really
good. But
Nothing.
It's
there's
the
nothing to be
clutch
ashamed
thing,
of
right?
his. Yeah, of his career. He was a really good kicker.
Hard being in the shadow of the
Vinatieri.
kicks that Vinatieri had.
That I would say, like the fact that he took over so seamlessly
Yeah.
for Vinatieri was impressive. Probably the most. Like that's big shoes to fill to
Yeah.
come after Vinatieri, and he really didn't
Agreed.
miss much of a beat. But to Deuce's point, like how many of those points were 19-yard extra points because they were scoring 40 points a game, and he's coming in and kicking the old PATs, not the new one, like the one from 19 yards. But I also have an issue in general with like he's the franchise leader in points. Well, the way that they calculate that, every team's franchise leader in points is a kicker.
Right.
Right, because
Pretty much, yeah.
because you don't get points for like throwing touchdowns. So like everybody's franchise leader is a kicker. So like is that
It's like whoever plays the longest.
right?
gonna
Is
get
that like
the
a
title.
great like that some great accomplishment?
And I would also say that in general terms, I'd be against a kicker being in a Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
unless he's special. Adam is special, for obvious reasons.
Right.
Like Gostkowski was one of, as Evan said, 32 guys who lead their team in points.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what kickers do.
So-
Some of them separate themselves with what they do, in the clutch
So
moments.
if Justin Tucker hadn't had his off-field stuff, would he be in the Baltimore?
Justin Tucker,
Yeah.
to me, would be an exception, purely taking the personal stuff
Right.
away.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Justin Tucker has a
Yeah.
chance to be in the Pro
Pro
Football.
Football Hall of Fame
Yeah.
caliber kicker. He
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, he's probably never going to see it for obvious reasons now.
Yep.
But he was different. Jason Hansen from Detroit.
Yeah.
Like there's some guys that are a little bit different, and they make every important kick for their team, and you remember the big moments.
Yep.
Other guys compile a lot of
Jordan in
numbers.
Kansas, who do you think will be entered into the Patriots Hall of Fame first? Devin McCourty, Wes Welker, or Matthew Slater? Also, keep doing the player interviews. They're fun, and they seem relaxed with you guys. So who gets in first, McCourty, Welker, or Slater?
McCourty.
Yeah.
I would say McCourty.
It should be Welker.
Yeah, but it won't be
Yeah.
because you dropped a pass.
Those are really interesting names to consider, though. I wonder how the fan base feels about. I know they love those guys, but is it the overwhelming love still for Matthew Slater that you may or may not think he does have? Do you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
you're gonna get all the benefit. Like Slater was such a great leader guy,
Yeah.
right? But he's still a special teamer at
Right.
the end of the day, which is very unique. But Devin kind of had all those leadership qualities, but was also
right. But like, what's interesting to me is, and I don't mean this as like Devin McCourty is an outstanding player, but I think we talk a lot about him being not having those signature moments, almost like Gostkowski. Like, what's your favorite Devin McCourty play? Like him returning the interception in 2018 in Buffalo, like
Running 23 miles an hour.
And again, like I don't mean to like he was key to making everything run on the back end, but again, it's like you talk about Welker there's plays that you can talk about good and bad, but with Slater and McCourty, it's hard to what's their highlight? What do their highlights look like?
Yeah.
Their
Their highlights
are
more off the field.
Well,
Right.
I could get some highlights of Gunner tape if you
Yeah,
want
right.
me
I
to.
know. It's like nobody's. But do the fans appreciate
Yeah.
that? Do the fans love McCourty as much as we think they do? I don't know.
I feel like Devin is the perfect team Hall of Fame guy, though, right? Like, like he on and off the field, like perfect Patriot, and winner. Has the rings. Like,
Yeah,
I agree. At his peak, was he a top 5 safety in the league? Like maybe, but he was never Earl Thomas, right? Like he was never the
Right.
best safety in the league. It's probably not a Pro Football Hall of Famer, but a Patriots Hall, that's what the Patriots Hall of Fame is for.
Played at a
And
high
that's-
level for a long time and did
Yeah.
it right on and
Yeah.
off.
I guess what I'm just speaking to more is the unknown quantity of having fans vote and how do fans really feel about guys. And you get into a little bit more of a popularity contest.
Well,
than,
I put McCourty with Matt Light. Like
Yeah.
they're the same.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
That
but
disrespectful to Devin McCourty.
they came in, they finished their career. They were solid
Yeah.
throughout their careers. To me, both of them don't get in.
Mhm.
That's just the way I am.
Yeah.
I also think
Yeah.
Devin will, he's still in media. He's still active, in
Right,
that
that's
side
part
of
it,
things.
is
Yeah.
How
So
much
I think
of a
that'll
following
help.
do you have?
I think
to-
that's Mike's point.
Right, you
Yeah.
gotta
What it
mobilize
comes
the
down
troops to vote for you.
I'm sure that they might.
Jeff, in Canada, if you don't like the Hall of Fame order, who should be in first situation, then blame the ballot. I voted for Edelman because he was the best Patriot player on the ballot. Adam will get in when he's running against lesser players. Edelman played offense, punt return, and even cornerback for a game. Vinatieri played about 5% of the snaps. P.S. Will Jordan be allowed to come for Bill Belichick night? Of course, she's
They're
going to
still
run
together.
it. It's-
They're still together. Is a good
we're going to
question.
be following her to orders. So, of course, she's invited. I hear what he's saying, but in
I
this
don't.
case, Vinatieri's 5% were incredible.
I just because it was like this unique situation where Edelman had to play some snaps at safety one year, shouldn't tip the scales.
I mean, Vinatieri tackled Herschel Walker too. Does that count for anything?
Right, and he threw a touchdown pass. Does that count?
Oh, that was a good touchdown pass too.
Like,
Duped him.
If you think Edelman's a better player, which is what he started with, I think that's a perfectly logical reason. I think he was the best Patriot on the ballot. That's why he picked Edelman. I like that. The reasoning, I'm not necessarily sure makes a lot of sense.
Robert says, while I am disappointed that Jules made it to the Patriots Hall of Fame over Adam, I find it far more upsetting that Adam didn't make the NFL Hall of Fame on the first ballot. Jules is a self-made success story, having entered the league as a QB and exiting as a Super Bowl MVP at wide receiver. He represented the heart of the Patriots, and maybe more so than any other during his second dynasty run. Watching his development over his career was inspirational. Adams' stats, clutch performances, and longevity put him in the top tier for best in NFL history. The recency bias cost him a first ballot for the Patriots Hall of Fame, but I will forever die on the hill that he was a lock for a bust in Canton on the first ballot. I plan to be front and center at the ceremony when the NFL writers finally decide to pull their craniums out of their collective arses and fix this egregious error.
Preach.
P.S. Will we ever hear how the vote totals for Jules, Adam, and Logan turned out? I know them.
Yeah.
It
No,
was,
but you won't hear that. We
well-
do not make that public.
Oh, we don't?
I don't think we've ever made that public.
Oh, really? I could
No,
say,
But if you want it right now,
yeah, I could say
Breaking
that
news.
it wasn't as close as I thought it would be.
all right.
I mean,
I can say it's not surprising.
I would say in political terms it was a landslide,
Yeah.
although I'll say it was 13% difference between Adam and Jules.
It goes back to what I said earlier. I mean, Jules got a huge post-career following. He's got a podcast. And the fans love him. I mean, he's made huge plays. It's
And the time they played too, like Twitter was catching on,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram was catching on. Edelman really got to reap the benefits of all that, and he really put himself out there, And I think it's a lesson in the importance of branding and marketing yourself while you have that window and you're still playing.
It's funny
But-
you say that, Alex, because I honestly think I've seen it a bunch of times. So many people sign up for Twitter in April of 2009.
I had my 14-year anniversary the other day.
I know I was in April 2009, but I don't know. I just see a
Yeah.
lot of people
What
who started that, because that was right when Jules got drafted. So I mean,
What was going on April 2009?
I think
think
Twitter
there was
was
a push
coming
to
to
get
the
celebrities
It
on
was
it.
coming to the forefront.
And
I
there
think,
So then you
but-
went on? Yeah.
Well, you were.
Yeah, I
you said
think
you were
so.
12.
Celebrity.
I
Yeah.
forget.
Well, you were only 6 years old,
Checks out.
probably. At this.
I was. I think I was in like. It was high school, but
we were older than
I don't.
6.
I was in high school,
Barely.
early high school, but I don't remember what the exact motive was to sign up. I know some of my friends, like, and Nick, for example, like, got on because there was like a video game promo that they
Yeah.
were pushing people to Twitter early on. So
I remember my
whatever the
little
reason
sister
was.
explaining to me, and I'm like, "What?" Like she's like, "No, you just post like 100. It's just a little sentence." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"For what? Like
Yeah.
who?" Like I just didn't compute.
Thankfully,
until-
Matt doesn't go back and find all these things, but I'm sure that Fred, Andy, and myself had a colossal rip fest on Twitter when it first
Oh,
came
yeah,
out. This is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
going to be gone in like a week.
Well, I
Oh, it's the
remember I
reason
was
you're
at an
famous.
NFL conference,
question.
and a guy from the Chargers, like my peer, this is when it first started. He's like, "Oh, sign up for Twitter. We can DM."
DM. That sounds
Fred
creepy
wanted
now.
to slide into the DMs of some guy from the
Right,
Chargers.
But I
I
of
don't
all,
think that's how you want it to go.
when these first started out, it was Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
I like Twitter better.
Yeah.
I didn't like Facebook from the get go.
Did we have a team MySpace?
I was on
Because
MySpace. so-
MySpace
don't-
is the OG. Like,
I don't think we
Yeah.
ever had a team MySpace.
Remember how
Oh,
you could
yeah.
like rank your friends?
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
rank your friends. You could have your favorite
You did-
songs and
you
a
did
playlist.
MySpace?
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
that's definitely our
That was the
generation.
first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know what MySpace
Yeah.
was. I never had an account, but
Oh,
I
I
would think
was-
that you were too young to do it.
No, that
I
was
probably
right in
should
our
have been
way,
too young,
right in
but I
our
was on it.
wheelhouse. MySpace.
My mom didn't
Well, you're not as
monitor.
young as her, even though that's what the
We're-
third or fourth
a year
time
apart.
that you tried to sort of align yourself.
I'm 94.
Yeah, we're 2 years. She's 2 years younger than
Big
me.
difference, and she acts funny.
Big difference. She got a
The
lot of
same age
ball
as
knowledge
Jess.
in that time.
I should have
She's
had
been
my.
mansplaining hoops for a long time.
I
people.
should have had my computer usage monitored, and it was not monitored.
No,
Yeah,
they
I
didn't
just
have that
I would
explains
then.
a
think
lot
that
of
I would think that you guys would be
the
too
reason I
young
am
for
the way I
MySpace.
am.
No, I mean, I definitely was
I-
at the like. It wasn't like. I was towards the end of MySpace actually
Yeah.
being popular when I finally got one.
Did you
but-
ever have a MySpace account?
No.
I taught myself to
I didn't
code making MySpace layouts.
Oh,
You go.
There you go.
Fancy.
Okay.
Women in STEM.
it's another example of how Alex
Women in
just has
STEM.
a little something about everything
Yeah, a
that
little-
she can add to
little
any
nugget.
conversation.
Renaissance.
Basic code, just HTML.
Renaissance
you know,
woman.
nothing
Women of
crazy.
Nesson.
Mike, did you have a?
I did have a MySpace for a while. I
MySpace?
didn't use it a lot, but I really enjoyed Facebook initially just because it was reconnecting with everyone
Facebook
that you
is for-
graduated high school
it's
with
for
or
olds.
college. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't.
Facebook is good
Yeah.
for
I
don't
olds. It's
post
not, I
on
don't think it
Facebook
was
or
ever
anything.
like a kind of a younger.
No,
It
well,
was at first,
well,
and then
it started
Twitter.
as a
Keeping in
college.
touch with
And then
family
Twitter
now,
and
and that's
No,
Instagram
it.
came
I
out.
know I know why
It
it
was
started.
the Facebook.
I
It
saw
was
the
the
social
Facebook.
network too, Fred.
Shout out to the Winklevoss boys.
right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I was on
innovators.
Twitter right away, just getting into arguments with people over sports. Like day one, I downloaded that app and was like,
I just
"Yep,
thought it was dumb.
I'm just gonna yell
I
at
think it
people."
was John Mayer that got me on Twitter.
Oh,
He was
Why's
really.
that?
your body is a wonderland.
I love John Mayer.
Yeah.
No, I liked
Oh,
Twitter
John
from the
Mayer?
get go. I really did. I thought it was, to me, it was the better app.
I
Yeah.
hate
The
it.
social
I hated it
platform.
then, and I hate it now.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the uses of it now
Yeah.
that I never really saw at the beginning.
Mhm.
Fred did. Fred, I'm
Yeah.
sure, yelled at Andy and I for being stubborn. Big
Yep.
shock.
But back then, Facebook was the monster. That
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But
you
no
know,
one really used Facebook for like
Sports and
news
stuff.
or information. It was like what
Yeah.
you were talking about.
Connecting.
Catching up and
Initially,
connecting.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Facebook
Stalking
still
ex-girlfriends
drives
from high school.
in terms of web traffic. Facebook kills
Yeah.
Twitter.
The
Yeah.
olds.
It drives way more traffic than
Because of
Twitter.
the old.
They love our
Well,
written stuff.
also just
Yeah.
internationally, so many people
yeah.
are
Good
on
use of written stuff.
Facebook in other countries.
No, I mean it's not even close. Like you can look at it in our metrics.
I'm
it's not
I'm
even
not
close.
overly surprised.
Yeah.
Matt in Rochester, New York, following up on some of the Hall of Fame last week, I wanted to send in a list of players and see what you think about their chances to make the Patriots Hall of Fame. It's 5 people. Danny Amendola, Malcolm Butler, Stephon Gilmore, James White, and Dante Hightower.
So I almost brought up
Ooh.
Hightower. When we were just
Hightower
talking about
and White, I
Devin.
think, get in. If Kevin Falk is in, then James White should
The
be
last
in.
two, I think, have legitimate chances.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
if you're
think the
talking about
first
like
three
those
do.
iconic moments, Hightower and James White have them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
Gilmore, I think, has a shot. And
Yeah.
I think in the
Defensive
order that
player
you
of the
have
year.
there, I would say that Gilmore in the middle there is on the fence. The other two, I think, are in. The first two, I don't think will.
I mean, he's
ever
got the key plays too with the AFC Championship
Yeah.
pass breakup.
Well,
Just
every
so
one of them
short.
has key
Super Bowl
plays.
Yeah.
Well, the
Every one
first
of
two,
them.
I
Yeah.
don't think will have any chance of getting in, but
Amendola.
they might have the most iconic plays.
Right.
Like Amendola, didn't
of the
have
line.
the volume, but he has these memorable
Yeah.
game-winning plays. And obviously, Malcolm Butler
Right.
might have made
He
a
has
play
the play.
that people know.
Gilmore had a
I
great
heard Matt
breakup.
Patricia deserves credit for
Yeah,
that.
up against the Rams.
But I don't think he
You
should
were
get. I
talking
don't
to Matty
think
B, have
yeah,
you?
yeah.
the first three. I don't think should get in. Amendola, Butler, and Gilmore. I can see based on who's in now, White and
How many
Hightower.
years for
And to
Gilmore?
me, the difference maker is how
4.
long they were with the Patriots.
4
Yeah.
years for Gilmore. He was only a Patriot for
Right,
4
17,
years.
18, 19, 20, right? 4 years. Yeah.
That's
It's pretty quick.
that is
Hightower
pretty
should
quick.
be in, though.
Yeah,
And then
Hightower.
they
definitely.
traded him, right, in 20?
Yeah, 21, I think they traded
21.
him summer 21. I could have that wrong, but I feel like I'm right. But
Yeah.
the Hightower one
That's a
is
short. That's too short.
I feel like Hightower's a lock.
Yeah.
Like
Hightower,
He
yeah.
should be.
Hightower should be a
You
lot.
got to start
Yeah.
plotting it out, though, like,
There's
because at
another
a certain
guy
point, you're going to
many
get
memorable.
past the obvious ones, and then you'll, unless
It's almost like
The
Fred
dynasty
and
starts
Paul
back up.
brought up some of these concerns to people
Uh,
once
Against
upon
the
a
abyss.
time.
Sam
It's still
Sam
going.
in St. Catherine says a couple hypocritical arguments I don't get that have been going on with the Hall of Fame topic on the show. One, it's a big deal for Adam that he's the all-time leading scorer in the NFL for his Canton resume, but it doesn't matter that Gostkowski is for the Patriots Hall. Couldn't you say Adam was lucky to benefit from shorter extra points and being attached to two of the greatest quarterbacks? See, I
mean, Gostkowski was
but that's
also
not
the
that's
shorter
not my
extra point.
reason for Adam Vinatieri being
Agreed.
a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. Like,
Now it's part of his resume, just like it's part of Gostkowski's resume.
right. But that alone doesn't
But
get
if
him
he
into
didn't
the,
have those game-winning kicks
Right.
with the Patriots, including the one in the snow, which tied the game, wasn't even a game winner.
right.
I wouldn't be talking about him like this.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Agreed.
There's a lot of good kickers.
Right.
Yeah, I could care less for
That's
all
why-
kickers about the points records.
That's why I said
Like,
last
Only well
show
enough
that
for you,
Yeah.
I think.
the reason why Adam's being considered for the Hall of Fame in Canton is because of what he did with the Patriots.
And what he did when the
Yeah, and
money was
clutch,
on the line.
Clutch.
Like
What
that.
he did with the Patriots clutch in clutch time.
I mean, he has, in my opinion, the snowball kick's the greatest kick of all time.
It's in a lot of people's opinion.
And then he has a Super Bowl game winning kicks on top of that.
Right.
So I mean, that's why he's even in the conversation for any of these halls.
And
of
it's
fame.
like a 48-yarder. It's not like you kick
Right.
this 22-yarder. And they
even
ran
now, I
off
still
and
can't
won.
believe he made it. Like
Right.
it just knowing how the snow was coming down that night and like
Evan has
just
the
the
chills.
conditions. It's just it was unbelievable.
Two, Adam being held back due to fans not liking that he left to join the Colts, but it won't count for Gronk, who literally retired because he didn't want to play for the Patriots anymore, only to unretire when he had the chance to go to the Bucks. That one's a fair argument. Like, why do we not hold that against Gronk, but we hold it against Vinatieri?
Because Gronk didn't leave for money.
I don't hold
The
it,
fans blame Vinatieri for leaving for money.
but I don't hold it against
So
either
what
of
did
them.
Gronk
I
leave
don't
for?
hold it against either one of them
Yeah.
either. But
But-
it's Fred's right. That's more of a fair analogy. Is they've overlooked it for Gronk and they didn't overlook it for Vinatieri. I'm telling you, when Vinatieri left, he was vilified. People thought that he was selfish and he took more money. Had nothing to do with it, but that's what they
But
thought.
what did
That's why they
Gronk-
booed him.
What did Gronk leave for?
Because he didn't want to play for Belichick anymore. He only wanted to play with Brady.
Okay. Oh, I
I
see.
think it was a combination of those.
Okay.
He,
Yeah.
I think he's on
Yeah,
the
he's
record.
been kinda
I think
on the
he's on the
record,
record
like,
as
it
saying, "I
was
only
way
wanted to
more
play
laid
with. I'm
back
only
in
going to play with
Tampa.
Brady."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan in Oceanside, California, he says Evan's hypocrisy. Evan believes the Patriots Hall of Fame should go in chronological order, but thinks it's insane to consider the Star Wars movies that are actually titled in chronological order. Fred, Deuce, and Marine Matt, you need to teach him a lesson.
Oh yeah, teach me a lesson, guys.
I like that.
When someone
numbers.
says to you, their favorite Star Wars movie is the third one, not Episode 3,
Well,
the third one.
no, well, I would take into account how old that person was.
Nope, take that out of it.
And I would say Josh Dobbs was young, so I'm going to say third one is probably going to be Revenge of the Sith.
See, I don't think that.
Episode
like,
3.
In my mind,
Fred, what say you?
when someone
Break
says
the tie.
the third one,
What are you doing?
I wasn't paying attention.
If someone just came up to you and said, "My favorite Star Wars episode is Episode 3,"
no, not episode, just the third one.
the third one, the third one, the third one, would you say which one are you talking about, or would you assume that it was
Which one's the
Jedi
third one?
or
To me,
Sith?
the third one is the third one that was released.
Thank you.
Oh.
So
Tie broken.
We got to follow up and ask and figure out.
I got to talk to Dobbs about this.
If you
Sounds
put it
like
that
newsletter
way,
material.
to me, the third one it's not number 3. If you put it that way, it's the third one that was released in chronological order.
I'm going to send a text. Hopefully we get
here's
an
the
answer by
thing.
the newsletter.
No one loves Return of the Jedi as their favorite one. People like the younger generation likes Episode 3 or Empire Strikes
I'd probably
Back.
ask for clarification, but in my mind, the third one is the third one that came out.
If I was being
so
honest
that might
with
be 2 to
myself,
1 you two, because you're kind of like saying like, how old is the person?
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
I'm
Some
of
nuance to
Joshua
it, Paul.
Dobbs's demographic. And the third one to me
It's your favorite, right?
is
That's
Jedi. And if I'm
Oh.
being honest, then I would say that as a kid growing up, Jedi was my favorite. Because I didn't really like the story in Empire Strikes Back is definitely better. But like I just
You
wanted
want
to
the
see
good guys
people
to
like
win.
fight with lightsabers, right? Like I didn't really, so I really liked the third one growing up. Like
Is that Jedi, you mean?
yeah,
No.
but
Yeah. To me, the best one was
Preach.
the last one that came out,
Oh,
which is 3.
Oh, I thought he was going
9.
all Brady.
But
on.
it's the last
one's
one
your
that came
favorite?
The
out.
next one.
the next one.
the last one that came out would be the new trilogy,
worst
which
one.
was horrible.
yeah.
How
That's
come
Okay,
we
what
don't
are
do
the
cool
names?
stuff like this, by the way? They're on NFL Network, the Rams
So going to Maui.
tweet came out.
Yeah.
They're doing their minicamp in Maui.
In Maui. Wow.
I don't care for
Must
that.
be nice.
Maui camp.
Why? Maui's amazing.
We all had
You
to
would
go
care
over
if
there
you got to go there.
No, thank you.
Why? Because of volcanoes?
No, I just like it's minicamp, and now I have to go
Right.
on a plane
Oh,
ride for
6 hour
6
flight
hours.
ride.
You
To,
have to go
like,
to
no,
Maui.
no.
Oh.
No.
What if
pretty
all
I
of
would do
training
that.
camp was there?
Maybe a little bit better, but like
I don't care if it was 2 days.
Can I?
Sign me up.
I just like it's just not like if I'm going there, like and you like you're going to work, like it's
I'd
a
work
business
that,
trip.
Like, Beth, you're taking
Can you guys
vacation.
believe
You're
this
going.
guy?
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spee in Fresno says on Catch 22 this week, Barth essentially said that Julian Edelman had great memorable catches, clutch catches, while Welker didn't. This seems a gross oversimplification and caused me to angrily spurt out, "Stick to the draft, Bartholomew."
Oh,
Both players had big drops and big catches. That comes with the territory of being a great player, playing in a lot of big moments. People like Alex Barth selectively recall one or the other. Agree or disagree?
He's not even here to defend
I
himself.
would largely agree.
Yeah, I would too.
I
But,
think they
like-
both had memorable moments, and they both had some disappointing drops.
In his defense, though, like, what's Welker's equivalent of the Super Bowl 51 catch? Like, he doesn't have a catch like that.
But that was a. I look at plays like that a lot differently than most fans.
But I'm not
so I'll
talking
stay
about
out of
like
it.
because I'm not like talking about like the level of difficulty and stuff. I'm just talking about the iconic moment, like in time, like that.
Yeah,
That is an iconic play, whether it
I guess
was
10 for 100 in the
lucky
Super Bowl,
or what.
yeah.
But like,
Yeah. It's also hard with Welker. It's a limited sample size. I was just doing the math in my head. I mean, playoffs, 2007, of course. Paul mentioned Super Bowl, might have been the MVP. 08, they didn't make the playoffs. 90 got hurt. 10, they got upset in the first round. He also, I think, sat out the first, right? That was not when he got benched by
First quarter,
by
yeah.
by Rex. And then 11 and 12, the run of the Super Bowl, which again I thought wasn't he pretty good in that Super? I mean, other than the drop, he was having a good game.
Other than that, how was the play? Yeah, the numbers,
really only
the
four
numbers
playoff runs.
percentage-wise are not much different. But Edelman had far more appearances in playoff games.
Yeah.
He had,
Just how it kind of
his
lined
numbers
up.
are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is not an anti-Julian.
No.
Like Julian Edelman is a no-brain, lock, stock, and barrel Hall of Famer for the Patriots.
Yes.
Like I'm not upset at all. Fred and I were teasing each other on Tuesday. I'm not upset, like Fred is, that it went in an order that I didn't agree with. I just would push back on the people that say that Welker doesn't belong. And there are people that are doing that. And in fairness to the fans, it's not the fans. He hasn't been on the ballot yet. We can't blame this one on the fans. I blame everything on the fans. I can't do that on this. I can't even get him on the ballot. And that's not the fans' fault.
Jeremiah says, Gronk said on a podcast once that he retired because the Patriots tried to trade him to Detroit. Unless there's something I missed, that was the last thing I remember him saying why he retired.
I thought that was
that did
before
happen.
he retired.
That was
though.
before
That
retirement.
was the
yeah.
off season before. So
Yeah.
in
18,
18, they did that. That's factual. They did try to trade him to Detroit.
And it's all that is factual.
Yeah, and I remember standing in the locker room, and it finally came out that happened, and he confirmed it. He said right to us that, yeah, they tried to trade me to Detroit, and I threatened to retire, and the trade, fell through because I wasn't going to go to Detroit. I was going to
And
retire.
he has also said on the record that when he came back, he was only coming back to play for Brady.
Yeah.
It wasn't like whoever wanted to pay
Right.
for him.
And
wasn't,
I
like,
think when he
shopping
did
himself
retire,
around,
he
right?
was
Yeah.
just so banged up and didn't want to deal with the BS here that it was like, what am I doing to my
I mean,
body
after
right
the
now?
18 season, he was the
Yeah.
injuries that he had sustained were incredible. You know,
Is that why
Sustained
Bill?
injury.
Why did Bill try to trade him? Like, I mean, was that like I'm going to try to get out of this
So,
while I can
year
still
too
get
early.
something
Value
for him?
high.
If I'm not mistaken, and someone will certainly correct me, and I'm not going to be all know-it-all-y like I normally am, I think it was the year that Baker Mayfield was the number one pick, and they were trying to get first-round picks to make steps to go from the bottom of the first round to the middle to the top. And I think it was Detroit. I think Detroit was one of the high picks. I could have this all wrong.
I don't know
I've
about
never
that.
I
heard
could
that.
have
I've
the
never heard that
timetable all
before.
wrong,
Yeah.
but
Trying
I
to
believe
set
it
up
was
so
the
they could
year
trade
that there was a story out linking Josh McDaniels to Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it was Mary Kay Cabot.
And they needed to get, I think, Detroit's number one pick to get up with something like I forget. But
Yeah.
there was a series of trades they were trying to make.
Wow, I never heard this. Before.
I've heard the Baker stuff. I don't know if those were connected exactly.
That's probably all wrong.
But I
just in full disclosure.
I like
my
it.
understanding of the Gronk thing was always that it was the year too early thing, or rather do it early than late. And Bill thought that Gronk was slowing down. The injuries were piling up, as we all know, and he thought that he was on the back nine.
It was also during the height of the Guerrero Wars, as opposed to the Cold
Well,
Wars.
and that's-
he wasn't lifting anymore. He wasn't doing not lifting, but he wasn't doing any squats. Remember, that's great for the
Yeah.
quarterback to have pliability, but the tight end needs to block.
Yeah.
And Bill was very frustrated, I think, with
It's crazy
Gronk.
thinking about it after watching the Dynasty documentary of how that would have gone over, because at that point it felt like they were barely holding this thing together, and then to go and get rid of Brady's safety blanket, Gronk. We all know everything that Gronk is. Like that would have really. I don't know what that alternate timeline looks like for Patriots fans and players, but
butterfly
trading
effect.
Gronk
Absolutely.
to Detroit.
yeah,
I would always just say
that
that
would have been seismic.
that 18 season, I feel like all the issues get masked by the fact that they put it together for one last dance and won the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. That team was in a bad spot for a lot of that. Like offensively, they were not very good for large stretches of the 18 season. Like Josh Gordon had to come in and kind of like save the offense and be an outside threat for them. They lost 2 in a row, Pittsburgh and the Miami Miracle, and like I remember doing at the time saying it was over.
9-5. Even
Yeah.
and I at those times, like I had the utmost confidence that they would win every game, and I did not think they had a playoff run in them.
And even the defense didn't really start to turn it around until the playoffs either. But they the last 2 weeks of the season they kind of put together an offense that could they went in 21 personnel, run the football behind the fullback, and that sort of became a base for them. But they were not a great team that year.
No,
I
they turned it on in the right time.
I don't want to bring up but my mind went with the Celtics because I hear all this stuff about they need to change what they're doing, and it's to me like I compare it, and I thought a lot about this with where the Patriots kind of found their stride schematically during the season. They still had to win a shootout in a different style in Kansas City, but not necessarily trying to get it back into Celtics talk. But is that crazy to tell a team in the middle of the playoffs you need to change your identity right now?
No, and I would say, and it is a little different, in terms of different sports, but I would say that everything that has been described about that team is accurate. What Evan just said, everything is factual. I would push back as to the why. Yes, they did. They got fat and happy those last 2 games. I want to say against the Jets and Buffalo.
Yeah, it was two. Yeah,
They were two
division
They
games.
were two
for sure.
Patsy division games that they got fat against. They ran the ball very well. Michelle played well. They scored a crap ton of points in the 2 playoff games. 41, I think, and 37 in the 2 playoff games. They didn't just do that by lining up in 21 personnel and slamming Sony Michel into a brick wall. They still had Tom Brady. Yeah. He was still Tom Brady, and he delivered. again, everything Evan said is right. I wouldn't.
The Charger game was definitely more of a run game.
I wouldn't argue about the validity of what we're talking about. I would just say Brady's presence is still there. You still have to play them as a pass team. Yeah. And without that, you can make all the changes you want and go 3 yards in a cloud of dust all you want. I feel like you needed to win 1.5 shootouts. I would say that Evan's right. The Chargers game ends up 41-28. That was one of those games that Fred and I like to sit in the easy chair and say, yeah, it was kind of close, but it really wasn't. It was one of those games the Patriots had the whole way. Yeah. The Chiefs game wasn't. The Chiefs game, they needed to throw the ball to continue to score and they ran the ball well too.
I just remember
goes into the end zone to win the game.
They took the ball. I think they took the ball first in both games.
Yep.
Which was very uncharacteristic, as we know. And they went in the Chargers and the Chiefs game. Both games they went on like 10+ play, 8 minutes, like pound the rock type of drives to basically shorten the game, especially against Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, remember the Patriots were up 14-0 in the first half.
Yeah, I don't remember I remember them taking the ball in Kansas City. I don't remember it being necessarily a ball control drive, but I'll take your word for it because I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Like to Deuce's point though, like about the Celtics tie, like the opposite is that like Brady in the AFC Championship game was like unreal on third down, and the reason why they were in so many third downs is maybe you could argue is because they were running the ball so much on first and second
Certainly
down.
In overtime.
Yeah.
It was like run into the line for nothing, incomplete pass, 3rd and 10.
Right. So like
again, that works when you have Brady.
That's where the nerds would say, well, if you weren't running the ball so much on first and second down, you wouldn't have lived in third down.
That's when I'm a nerd.
And you wouldn't have need the greatness to come out, but it did.
Chris in New Hampshire has critiques on all of us. He says, Fred, you're delightful. Don't ever change. Thank you.
I would agree with that. That's a good
solid
critique.
Good solid critique.
Paul, I'm not here to tell you what to think, followed by that opinion is stupid. I hate it, and I look down upon those who have it.
You get it. You get
Deuce,
it.
bad take, Deuce.
Yeah. Oh.
We don't like winning. We don't want the first overall pick. We get it. You like the defensive side of the ball, then complain about how many games it's been since scoring 30. Well, once we get to 7-9, 9-7 purgatory, will you be pleased? Yeah. Evan, Barth completes him.
Is that an insult?
I don't know.
No, that's just a critique.
So next time on Catch 22, I want you to say to Barth, I can't quit you.
But like that is the show, right? Like I
guess I wish I knew how to quit you, isn't it?
Oh,
I don't take that as an insult. Yeah. I think that means our show is very well rounded. That we have all our angles covered.
Well, you were quoted as, I have Barth and Jess, what more do I need?
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Alex.
You're actually quoted as saying that?
Alex, easy on the eyes, but of course also pragmatic and insightful. Oh.
Where's the critique?
Someone's got a crush, I think.
Critiques can be good.
Wussed out on that one.
Who was that? How old are you?
Wussed out
Chris
on you
in New Hampshire.
Okay, I'd watch yourself.
I don't do drugs.
Nick, I'd watch yourself. Chris.
I don't know.
Chris looking to slide into the DMs.
Nick's like 6'3", we found
Unlike
out, right?
Fred on Twitter.
6'2"?
6'2",
6'2".
Yeah, he can handle himself.
He
can handle himself.
A little aside here, I mentioned the fan club registry. I think, was it on the last show or the show before? I can't remember. But he says, this is Zach in Chicago. I'm so glad you mentioned the Patriots fan club website last week's show. Being a Patriots fan in Chicago, it wasn't until I went to last year's Bears-Patriots game did I realize how big the Patriots fan base was here. And now, after hearing about the fan club website, my friends who are also Patriots fans and I are already planning on making trips to these bars during the season this year. Also, just to keep in mind, the Chicago PU fan base would not be opposed to the crew coming over this way to host a special episode from the Windy City when the Patriots come back to play the Bears in 2026. Just no Jaws trivia, please. Oh. Star Wars, yes. Jaws, no. Keep up the fantastic work. And shout out to Evan. Jedi was also my favorite Star Wars movie growing up.
Yeah, there's dozens of us.
Who are these people?
It's almost as big as the Chicago Patriots fan club.
I actually love going to Chicago.
I've never been. It's high on my list.
We got to go last year, right? Last year. Yeah. And
Caleb,
we
won.
We
won.
And that's one of my favorite cities. Like that, we had a great time in Chicago.
Chicago's fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It's cavernous.
I haven't been there a lot, but the couple of times that I've been there, I've really enjoyed myself.
It does remind me it's like like Midwest Boston, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got
Yeah.
a
Northern
similar
City.
kind of feel like that.
Mhm.
It's fun.
Yeah, my old boss at the Herald was from New York. He was in New York City, and he used to make fun of Boston and Chicago all the time. It was like, Boston's like a New York suburb, and he would say, and Chicago's just a cow town. He would make fun.
I
of
don't
it all
know,
the
man.
time.
They get a lot of tall buildings in Chicago.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
buildings,
Yeah.
but they're definitely smaller.
and I guess
big
like,
cities.
like
Is that the Chrysler building?
I guess they had that huge Chrysler building. That's New York.
Oh shoot,
What are
you're
you
right.
talking about? You're
Sears.
talking about
Sorry.
Sears.
I got
The Sears building?
Sears Tower.
I don't think it's
I
called
got
the Sears
confused
Tower
by Little
anymore.
Orphan
I don't know
Annie.
if it is either.
Is Sears still?
It was right down the
company?
street from our hotel, though. I went.
But I guess like that big fire in Chicago, required a lot of rebuilding. So
Yeah.
the buildings are newer than Boston.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Plus, I just like feel the Michael Jordan greatness when you're like walking. You're like, wow, like this is where Jordan played. This
I
is
think
cool.
about like NHL '91 with like Jeremy Roenick and Nintendo hockey game. That was you had to be
Well,
So you
I
played
hate the
NHL
Blackhawks.
91.
91, 92.
90,
yeah.
I think it was 94,
92.
wasn't it? But
Oh,
you played,
94, yeah.
You played Chicago.
Oh yeah, shit. No,
You didn't
maybe-
play Vancouver. Everybody plays
Well,
Vancouver.
well,
It's Trevor Linden,
Pavel Bure?
Bure.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Cliff Ronning.
Is this on Sega?
No, Jake.
Yeah.
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 So here's a good
You played it in
Here's a
college.
It's probably,
good,
it's probably the last time I played video games.
Absolutely.
here's a good
Love Sega.
discussion for an off season program. Which city and/or town in the United States had the best TV shows associated with them?
Oh,
Oh boy. Oh.
So you could say like
boy.
Boston Cheers.
Uh-huh.
no.
Cheers is an all-time great.
But we'll do that in the
It's
off season.
probably
Think about it.
It's probably like
Let
New
that
York,
marinate.
though. Wouldn't
That's
it
a
be New
good.
York?
That's good for fodder.
Friends, Seinfeld.
Yeah.
What about Bob Newhart,
Taxi.
Chicago?
Chicago.
LA
has
must
some-
have a lot too, right? No.
But I feel like in LA they're just sort of generic.
Yeah.
This is generic fake California city,
The
but you could tell they're
OC.
in California.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that
mean,
would be one.
Melrose Place.
Entourage,
Beverly Hills
obviously.
90210.
Yeah, Entourage.
Yeah.
Mhm.
2.5 Men. Malibu.
Yeah.
Now, does it being in that city have to be like a fundamental piece of the show? Because there's a lot of movies and shows that you don't realize.
No,
are
you
from
have to. They
Boston?
have to say
Okay.
like we're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boston's
Like,
got great
the
movies.
town is part of
Yeah.
the show.
Like
Well, there's
Mary
a lot
Tyler
of
Moore
movies.
in Minneapolis.
That would probably
Okay.
be the best ever sitcom in Minneapolis.
right.
You gonna
Right.
go out on a limb on that one?
I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
I feel like Boston's more of a movie,
Yeah.
like the town.
Well,
Good Will
Spencer for
Hunting.
Hire was in Boston.
Yeah, there's been some
A
shows.
lot of movies
That's a
you don't
random one.
realize.
I thought about that game
What's the
forever.
movie with? I think it's Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock.
Oh,
The
the Lake
Proposal.
House. Oh,
It's supposed to
God.
be in Alaska. They filmed it in Rockport.
Ugh.
Oh.
Oh.
There's like a movie credit, tax credit, or something here that
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people film movies here and you don't realize it.
Oh.
Good to know.
Okay.
Fun facts.
Fun facts.
Eric from Amherstburg, Canada says Eric's arrogance is hilarious.
That'd be me.
He says the math is the math. Celtics are soft. Nerds will be nerds and suck at sports.
Okay.
What?
Defending NBA champions.
It's like it's sports.
Suck at sports.
Nerds suck
Oh,
at
suck
sports.
at sports. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You saw the Revenge of the Nerds, Paul?
Nerds. Lot of Hall of Fame emails. Let's go to.
That's we sparked some debate. That's
yeah,
good.
So
Freddie.
we'll get back to it. Let me go to the phones. 855-PATS-500 is the hotline.
Even
We're
when we
still
agree.
looking for a sponsor, huh, Matt Morrell?
Jersey Mike's, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no.
I
I'm
owe
going to
no
save this for
socks,
the
Jersey
newsletter.
Mike's.
But I tried the Jersey Mike's chicken salad sandwich.
Oh.
And
I'm going to review it in the newsletter.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
Okay.
food review.
I missed
I
that
got one
first
ball.
part.
Maybe put me down for your sandwich tomorrow.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Well, I already owe no socks.
So do I
Yeah,
just owe no
that's right.
socks? Should I
You
just
do.
give no socks one?
Why do you owe no socks?
I bet him that the Celtics will win the next 4 games. If they lost the first one.
You're just you and Paul Pierce
I lose.
walking barefoot. to
Whose
the-
bet's worse?
No Socks had a very, very passionate review on the good side of the Jersey Mike's bowls.
Oh.
That's what I have to
Yeah.
get him tomorrow.
Yeah.
They are good.
He really
Correct.
liked it. He said it's the sandwich without the bread, so you don't feel like,
I mean, that is what it is.
The bread weighs you down. It's
That's-
true.
That was perfect.
And you go to Chipotle, and it's like the bowl is like the burrito without the tortilla,
I like
right?
the bowl. I like to get the bowl with the
You
chips.
get the side. No,
Yeah,
you get the
with the
side
chips.
tortilla, and then you
Side
have a
tortilla is a
burrito
good move.
and a bowl,
Or you get the chips, and then you dip the
do the
chips in the
chips.
bowl.
I'm a chip
Yeah.
or you do all three
like
of
the
it.
chips.
I don't know. I don't like my Italian sandwich loose like that. I want something holding it
Yeah,
together.
everything
I
just
don't want to just use some floozy.
right.
I want a loose.
With one
Right.
bite, it's got a little of everything, not one giant bite of
Yeah.
a piece of salami. It's
Right.
not-
Yeah, 'cause
It's a
then,
good point.
Then you're trying to like make sure you get meat with the other stuff.
Do I
You
have
want
the
you have
red
to
wine vinegar in
Yeah,
there.
you have to
and-
make sure that
I do have an irrational concern over that. Like, am I putting too much on one forkful, and now I'm gonna be left without the stuff that I want?
exactly,
I gotta-
exactly.
That's a good point.
I do think that because I'm
Yeah.
psychotic.
I got a question though. If I get a turkey bowl, is it weird if can you put a squirt of mayo on top of that? Like nobody does that, right? You can't put a mayo.
Well, you have
Why
to put it
not?
in
Why
and
not?
then mix it around.
Ugh,
But a Jersey
do you put,
Mike,
that's
do you
not-
put salad
I don't
dressing
know.
on
I have
salad?
a weird thing with mayo though. I don't know.
What about
Just-
like a chipotle aioli? That's mayo. It's just flavored.
You're right, Alex.
You know?
You're right. You're
Again-
poking holes in my argument.
Mayo's
Again.
so versatile.
The Renaissance is here.
It's so versatile.
I just can't picture a bowl with like just a squiggle of just white mayo on top of it. I don't know. It just grosses me out.
Call it aioli. and you're good.
Call it aioli. I know.
mean, I
but-
get it.
Where does his head go?
I mean, I get it.
Who thinks like that?
Like I
Right.
want the mayo just spread nicely on the bun. I don't see it. I taste it, but too much mayo can ruin
I
the
don't
sandwich.
see
Well, you don't
Okay.
want too much.
Too much mayo. You just a touch of mayo, but you can't do it on a salad. It's just
he doesn't want people seeing him eat that.
just a
with
giant
that on
amount
top.
of mayo
Yeah.
on your salad.
Did
like-
you have that that turkey sub? Was that plain,
Yeah.
Mike? And you
No.
can say yes.
Yeah.
Because they will never know.
They'll never-
But in
right,
reality,
exactly.
it's smothered with mayo. And
Well, I prefer
don't know.
not smothered, but just a little mayo, just a little, a little tang in there. It's nice.
All right, Cameron's in North Carolina. What's up, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Hey.
Hey,
I have
yo.
2 quick questions for you. The first one being, how important do you think it is for Drake May's development to have 2 veteran quarterbacks that he's had so far, such as Jacoby Brissett and Josh Dobbs, and just their dedication to being mentors and sharing the same primary goal of just trying to win as opposed to really competing for a spot? And the second one being, what the argument would be to have Matthew Slater inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Because if we're talking about impact players, I understand he was a great leader and very long tenured, but I don't really understand the argument to get him in to the Patriots Hall of Fame. And I'll take it off here. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Cameron.
I think he's probably the greatest special teams player of all time. So,
Matthew Slater.
yeah, in terms of covering kicks. I
Can
would
we
say he's
quantify
probably-
that? Can we quantify that into wins?
I can't.
You can't quantify it into wins
Yeah.
necessarily, but like, if you throw on Matthew Slater gunner tape, like some people do in this room every once in a while, like the amount of like
for a friend.
the amount of like double and triple teams that he would see on like one punt was like insane. Like they would literally layer the blocking scheme so that like he would get hit like 7 times going down the field. I mean,
What
he-
made him so good?
he-
Like why? Like why? Like I mean, I'm being serious because you're just
He literally
running down the
that's all
field tackling,
and
but
he literally would not practice with the rest of the team. That's
Yeah.
all he would do was work on that.
Yeah.
That's all he would do.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of the best to ever do it. I mean, that's
got a
the
knack.
argument.
got a knack getting downfield,
The
getting the ball.
first question that Cameron had, I think, is a good one. I don't know what the answer is, but would you rather have, and how beneficial do you think it is for Drake May to have veteran backup types as opposed to legit competition for a job?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you can make a strong argument for both sides. I'm not sure what's more beneficial to Drake because I think that would be in the eye of the beholder. Whatever he feels is more beneficial.
I would say
would be
at
the
this
answer.
point of his career, I like this approach a little bit better. Like if we're in year 3 and 4 and he hasn't taken that next step yet, and you want to try to push him a little bit, then that's one thing. But right now, you're really just trying to get him off the ground and get
Listen,
him.
I'll
the league.
repeat. This is another Bill Parcells thing. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback, and I think that's true. If you don't have that guy, and you have legitimate competition at the quarterback, then you don't have a quarterback.
But I looked at it more as, do you
I
guys
disagree.
see value
Okay.
in
Well, then you disagree with Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells said, if I don't have a guy who separates himself.
No. His exact
Like,
quote was, "If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback."
Correct. That means you don't have a guy who separated himself. That's his
Right.
point. I need some. So if Drake May is the guy,
Right.
there's nothing to worry about.
Right. Exactly.
He can have competition.
It's not really competition because
He beats it.
right. So
That's why it's not.
competitive.
That was almost a disaster.
It's not competitive anymore
Dear
because
Lord.
he already proved himself.
But he needs to win the competition.
Yes. Right. So
And
now,
Parcells is like ideal. This is why I think you can look at this from both sides. Like, I agree with what Fred's talking about here, but I think we're saying the same thing in a different way. I think
here we go.
I like the idea of having a veteran. I think Brissett last year and Dobbs this year will be beneficial. I think Evan's point about maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, if he hasn't sort of gotten nudged, he might need someone a little bit younger and you know, less
Anthony Richardson a little bit
more,
this year,
more
tiny
threatening
bit.
is a good word to do it, to give him a kick. But I don't worry about like having 2 quarterbacks. I think that I have the guy. I think Drake May is my guy. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having a guy behind him who's younger as well as the veteran who wants to compete for the job. I think competition is good at all spots. Yeah. And I'm confident if I'm the coach that Drake May wins that competition.
Well,
I don't have 2 quarterbacks. My problem of who am I playing? They're both so good. That's what Parcells didn't want, was like the fans saying the other guy should be playing, like Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. That's no good. Like, Zappi was competition for Jones, but it was only a competition because Jones wasn't good enough. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what you don't want 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it a little bit differently, just in the value of having a veteran quarterback with Drake still. And do you see value in someone experienced, not necessarily like competing just, hey, kid, this is, we're playing in Green Bay this week, and this is something I noticed. Or, they might throw this defensive coordinator this week, might throw this at you. Those kind of things, like, I don't know. I guess as I get older,
I'd want both.
Yeah, I see a little bit. I don't know. There's part of me that just wants him to do it himself and get, learn for himself and not have to think that, I'm going to get. I feel like we had this conversation during the year too.
If you progress to Evan's point, in 3 years, let's say it goes the other way and he clearly just establishes himself. Now I don't need a veteran because he's the man.
Yeah.
He doesn't need anybody to mentor. Now I can bring in young guys to develop behind him.
Which was what, like Brady, like 04, 05, somewhere in there. That was when he no longer had the.
How long did Heward stay?
It was a couple.
Oh, I say it was a couple of years.
Just
Felt
a couple,
like Felt like a good amount of time though, for a backup.
Because after he left, he really didn't have
Got
that
into,
anymore,
Castle
right?
then, and
they brought in random guys, but they were just to appease the
They
head
brought in
coach's
Castle. He
ego.
hadn't even played in college.
yeah, right.
Once Heward left, it was like Rohan Davey. Mm-hmm. Like, it was young guys that were developing, and then they would bring in veterans like Testaverde and Flutie to, satisfy Belichick's ego.
Right. Belichick.
Which, again, these are things we can say now.
All right. We'll take a break. More calls and emails. Lots of emails coming in. Hall of Fame stuff. It's a big issue. So we'll get back to that and other things right after this.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
I'll say it's positive, real positive. Everybody's excited for a new opportunity, fresh start. So
and how would you describe the new coaching and like the impact that Mike Vrabel and the new coaching has had on what's going on here?
I would say it's a very high emphasis on connectivity, really setting a foundation, learning each other, growing together, and really establishing, their identity and things like that. So.
Sorry, just on the connectivity, like how does that happen? Like how do you connect?
Yeah, so that would be time. Learn each other's story, on and off the field, and really just honing in on each individual and the time we do have together and really learning each other, like I said, on and off the field. So.
There have been so many changes for you guys on the defensive side of the ball this offseason, but at the safety position, you guys pretty much stayed the course. You, Jabril, Dell. How important is it for you guys to be able to maybe set that tone of consistency on the back end going into the 2025 season?
I'll say it's important for everybody. The standard is the standard with us, but leadership has to come from every room, and so we just got to make sure the standard is what it is in our room, and we're holding to that. Yeah.
Have you gotten much into like what your role is going to look like in this defense yet?
Nah.
So what have the last few weeks been like for you guys?
It's really just been setting the foundation, just learning, connecting. Like I said earlier, that's been the biggest emphasis. Not really getting into the roles and yet. We just trying to set our identity and the foundation.
How challenging was last season for you? Just battling through the ankle pretty much all year. How tough is that? And how much are you looking forward to this?
I'm really looking forward to this upcoming season. Not really looking back to last year. Kind of put it in the back of my mind and really just looking forward to moving on.
Kyler, I'm sorry.
You good?
Are you aware that you're the longest? You and a couple other guys are now the longest tenured guys on the team.
Yeah, they've been telling me. Yeah.
So I mean, what's your reaction to that? I guess.
It happened fast. I would say. It's been from my rookie year to now. It's been flash. So it's really good. It makes me feel good just to be with the organization for that long, and it just lets me know that, as a leader, my role and kind of setting things and just being here in the organization, it's important. So.
How does that change, if at all, how you view yourself walking around day to day? Being all the old heads here, you're up there.
Nah, it don't change much for me. It don't really change much for me at all. I still have a job and a standard to uphold. So, and learning this, I have to be open and really make sure that I'm aware and locked in on everything new.
Is the ankle 100%?
It's doing well. It's doing well. Yeah.
Well, a lot of the guys who are leaders and captains on the team aren't back. Do you see new leadership kind of emerging yet?
I would say yes, but I wouldn't get into specifics of certain individuals. I think right now everybody's kind of expected to carry themselves like a leader, and that's what it should be, and so I would say yeah, but can't really get into specifics on certain guys, but it's definitely a point of emphasis.
I mean, have you noticed, you've been here now, what last year was like, and obviously, is there a lot of change behind the scene? Do you notice Mike Vrabel really putting his imprint on this program?
I would say yes, he's definitely putting his imprint on the program, and like I said earlier, he's really honing in on connecting and learning us as individuals and setting that foundation on and off the field, like I spoke about. So yeah.
Kind of what stands out to you about Coach Booker, Coach Williams? You guys had a lot of the same defensive coaches even after Coach Belichick left, and Gerardo's hired as the head coach. But now it is basically a new staff on that side of the ball. What's it been like working with those guys?
I would say just every day there's a lot of energy and we're really focused on the small details, and so that really stands out to me, and I'm appreciative of that. Yeah.
Did you spend a lot of time watching the Titans defense and their safeties in particular?
I would say we watch all ball. It's not just them. We watch all ball. Any good ball around the league that applies to us, which we want to play good ball, we'll watch it. So. Yeah.
What's a detail? You just mentioned they're big on the little details. What's an example?
Alignment, assignment. Eyes are consistently play in and play out. Knowing people's names and things that may not seem like a big deal, just like little stuff like that. If we go over it, it's possible that we need to know it, I would say. So.
As Bob said there, it's a whole new coaching staff, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. As it concerns Terrell Williams, how would you describe his coaching style? Because he's someone that even media we haven't talked to that much. Just how would you describe him, and what's that like?
He's about his business. He treats us like pros, and I would say he has a good energy as well. Ready to work. So, I'm excited to work with him.
Coach Williams and the coaching staff on the defensive side have talked a lot about wanting this defense to be aggressive, play aggressively, and play with force and violence. How does that fit into your play style?
I would say that's what I want to do as well. I would say that. I would say we align in that way. I want to be violent and aggressive, just like they want to be, and so I would say it fits in my play style pretty good. Yeah.
Were you two more questions, guys? Were you familiar with Marcus Epps and Craig Woodson before they were added to the room, and what's it been like getting to know those guys?
Yeah, I watched. I was aware of them. I watched them when he was in Vegas, and so I was definitely aware of them. And having them in the room, I feel like the experience has been good. It's really early, but I can definitely tell smart ball players, really smart ball players, and they take it seriously. So I appreciate that.
Do you work in your connectivity within the program? What's something you learned about Coach Vrabel or Coach Williams you didn't know before?
Not a whole lot I can really say. Kind of keep it between each other, but I would say they're very big on family, and yeah, I would say that's one thing that I picked up on. They take it very seriously, and that includes us, the building. So yeah.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And now, great moments in history.
No one was worse than Big Head.
You're right. He was.
That's
true. He was.
Big Head also didn't wait till the break.
Right.
What he just as soon as the food arrived, he would just shut his microphone off, move it away, and start eating.
But I mean, seriously.
Yeah. He'd be done before the break started.
Eat a sub whole.
Yeah.
Right.
Just he'd actually be mid-sentence in an argument with Fred, and if the producer would come in with the food, he would stop what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
He would be arguing, passionately about something, and it would just drop everything, and Fred would be like, "Oh, you can't even
We used to have
finish
the producer go down because they'd have the media meal, so just make us a plate. So he'd come back with maybe 6 or 7 sandwiches, and the moment he put it down on the table,
Andy would
Big
take
Head
4
would
of them.
just boom, just jump on.
High metabolism guy, huh? Just always eating.
Sucked
The
that
always
bone
eating
dry.
kind of guy.
No, but he's
always eating, but he's always
to work out a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. If he ever slows down in his workout, he's going to balloon. The rest of his body will catch up to his head.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on Patriots Filtered, 855-PATS-500 is the hotline.
We're filtered today? We got filters?
Podcast at patriots.com is the email address. What's that?
I thought you said Patriots Filtered.
Oh, did I? Oh, some people think we are. Dreaming of next season? Revamp your sleep routine before kickoff with a luxurious and affordable mattress from Bob's Discount Furniture. When you team up Bob's everyday low prices with premium features like the Envy's hand-tufted tensile knit cover, naturally breathable silk and wool fibers, and heavenly hybrid construction, you're in for a sleep win. Or try one of Bob's Consumer Reports recommended picks like the Treasure or Copper Radiance. Get winning sleep at Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. So good.
Yeah, sounds good.
A bit of breaking news, Fred.
Oh, yeah? What do we got?
We have a history made today.
We do.
What's that?
There's been a new pope named.
New pope.
First ever.
Bobby from Swampscott?
Close.
Yeah.
First American. It's Bobby from doesn't say where.
Cardinal Provost from Chicago, Illinois.
First ever from the U.S.
We were talking Chicago earlier.
That is?
First ever American
That's
pope.
something.
We got a pope.
Is he the TikTok
I'm Jewish,
pope?
but,
There's a pope on the TikTok. I
Whatever.
think.
Good for the pope.
So we have a Chicago pope.
Chicago pope.
Sounds like one of those CBS serials.
I feel like
Chicago Pope.
I feel like
Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago
Well,
Pope.
there used to be a show, Chicago
Chicago
Hope.
Vatican.
right.
That's true.
Same thing.
And that was a good little,
You like
little
that?
take of that.
You
Yeah,
like that?
Chicago Pope.
Chicago Pope.
I felt like that.
We'll see a million promos for it during during the football games on Sunday.
like
On after the game.
Yeah, Chicago Pope.
There was like one pope
Murderer
for like the first like
She wrote.
35 years of my life, I feel like, and now we've had like 3 popes in the past like 10 years.
I could just see it.
Remember Pope John Paul?
He gets into
but Pope John Paul II followed Pope John Paul I within a month.
Oh, so there
It
were
very
2
quick
different
in
guys.
succession. Yes,
I didn't realize it.
In my
Okay.
childhood, Fred
Fair
probably didn't have a favorite pope then, because he didn't know who was going to win
Right.
yet.
Right.
He goes right.
Chicago Pope. I'm just thinking of the
You're
scenario.
still basking in the glory of Chicago.
No, I'm just thinking of like what the scenarios would be. Chicago Pope tonight on Chicago Pope. Don't make me take off my mic. Things like that.
Rosary beads,
Yeah.
stuff, things of this
That's
nature.
his weapon.
You want the
You
smoke?
guys are
I'll give you
mocking
the
my
smoke.
religion.
His rosary beads are his
Choke 'em
weapon.
out.
People do it to
Come
my
on.
religion all the
Right.
time.
He's
so
a
it's
different kind of
fine.
pope, right? He's a pope with an edge. This pope isn't sitting down anymore.
You don't want this smoke.
You don't want the pope smoke.
You want the white
Pope
smoke.
You want the white smoke.
Yeah.
And
the
like
black.
women are always hitting on him, and he always has to say no.
No,
what do
my
you got under
child.
that robe? You don't want to know. Yeah.
Now you're just
If
being
my grandmother's listening, I have nothing to do with this
Now you're just being
conversation.
disrespectful.
The sad
Why?
thing is, I'm flashing back to like
I'm
my
making the
LA
Pope
days.
into a superhero.
I'm flashing my LA days and the picks execs being like,
Someone's
I
like-
see it. I mean, it's like, who could we get for this role?
Who
Like,
are
and
we
that's when we
casting?
started to like,
Who are we casting?
Charlie Sheen. I just thought of Deuce. But
Oh, Chicago Pope? No,
Yeah.
it's got to be John Goodman.
John Goodman.
You guys are naming all people I did sitcoms.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck. Oh, he was tough.
Tom Selleck
He was
could do
tough.
it.
Yeah. I mean,
Tough reputation.
is he still doing Blue Bloods? Is that like in
Well,
like
it's
season
over.
20?
No, it's
finally
over. They're going to start a Boston version with just Donnie, but
He was one that had a bad reputation. A lot of like, you don't want to work with Tom Selleck.
Selleck?
Like, he was tough.
What,
that's
Mr.
disappointing.
Baseball?
That's disappointing.
You get
What's the
I love Magnum.
Magnum.
yeah, that
Magnum
one.
PR.
Thank you.
Magnum PI.
Mitch in Saratoga, getting back to Hall of Fame. Quick
Wall.
hypothetical.
Wall.
Say Adam got in this year. Who do you think would have gotten next year, Gronk or Edelman? I would say Gronk by a thin margin.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that would be
Close
historic.
enough that someone would just be like,
I would
let's
feel
just do it
bad for the
together.
third person, pretty much whoever it was.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I
Do it
think
together.
I would have done it together. But I know we can't do that apparently. But I just feel like those two particularly going in together would make a ton of sense. Like they're like best friends.
Then you might talk about doing a little bigger than just out there. I think if you did both
Bang.
those guys,
Well, we got soundproofing coming down in the
I
studio.
saw that coming.
Breaking news.
Nothing I could do. No, yeah, that I don't know. I
You know,
just,
one more weird thing though I thought about with Adam is like he has a whole exhibit in the hall of like the kicking thing. Like he's not in the hall, but like his kick is in the hall with the video board. Go in there and attempt it.
We
So
still have the snowplow,
Kind of a
don't we,
funny
from
Hanging
the
from the
from the other snow game, right?
Right.
looks in really good shape.
Maybe if he finally gets in, we can finally do your content idea.
I want to.
What's that idea?
It's really good.
It's like a hidden camera, like
Oh,
so Adam Vinatieri working.
He's working the exhibit.
where we put some dumb glasses on him and a little hall outfit, and he's trying to teach kids how to.
like a disguise.
Yeah, he's like, people are like, who's this guy?
They do that Uncle Drew, obviously with Kyrie, but
Yeah.
I remember one Ronaldo dressed up in a disguise, and he was just out in the streets of Madrid probably, and he was just absolutely roasting people with a
love
soccer ball, and then this kid literally started to cry as he was revealing himself. The kid literally broke down in tears. He was
Yeah.
so happy.
There's one that goes around on your social media platforms, Alex. It's
TikTok?
It's the guy. It's in the gym, and the guy's in this one-piece overall with the broom, and he's watching these big guys lift, and he's like, "Hey, can I try?" And they make fun of him, and he's
I know what you're
lifting
talking
twice
about.
the weight.
Yeah.
I see that one.
Didn't Eli do something like that recently
Yeah.
at a college?
At a college.
He went
What was his name?
as a walk-on.
Derek Powers or something?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's fun.
Kelly in Brooklyn writes in, watching Welker in his prime in a Patriots uniform was incredible. Paul would agree. Week after week after week, Welker made big catch after big catch. Third and long, Welker for the first, every time. Welker created that position. Welker walked so Edelman could run. For those who were not born yet or still in diapers, They're always going to go Edelman. They just don't understand what those years were like watching Welker. He was a madman, a blue-eyed lunatic.
I like the blue-eyed lunatic. He was special. And that's why I think he'll get lumped in as slot receivers, and they do similar things. But I'll never forget the feeling of like, holy crap, this Wes Welker guy is awesome, and he's tiny. He looks like a kid out there, but no one can cover him. Yeah,
I would just say Troy Brown was before Welker. Like as much as I love Welker.
Yeah.
Brown was a slot receiver who caught 100 passes and basically was the offense.
They did change the role. The 2007 Patriots basically were at the forefront of 11 personnel, taking over the league and 3 receivers and playing like a true slot. And Welker was like the first true, maybe not the first, but like he's the one that kind of pioneered it a little bit. And like to the emailer's point,
the Jets guy,
Wayne Grabett.
Yeah, and really played inside all the time and was doing it at a really prolific level. And then defenses had to invent the slot corner more often and like use that, and like it did really change. Even like Josh McDaniels deserves some credit for what they were able to do with schematically with all that. Like there's a case to be made that we play football now the way that it's played because of Welker and the 2007 Patriots.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did Welker land in Washington? Is that where he is now?
Oh, where he's coaching?
Washington. Yeah.
Kyle and Pembroke, I personally dislike how the Patriots do their Hall of Fame selection. Here's how I'd fix it. 1, have 5 players on the ballot, not 3. 2, allowing a certain vote threshold that the player has to meet to get in. Example, they need 5,000 votes to get in. 4, if no player meets the threshold, no one gets in. Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I mean, that's kind of more like, I know the Pro Football Hall of Fame is not a fan vote, but you have to get
the
a certain
threshold.
amount of votes,
Yeah,
right?
I don't hate the threshold. I got what he was getting at there.
How hard was it for you guys when you were putting this all together to figure out how you wanted to do the voting? I mean,
I don't think I had anything to do with it.
We didn't.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Just started.
Yep.
We were just told this is how we're doing it.
This is how we're doing it, and then people expressed reticence.
Yeah.
And were summarily dismissed and ignored.
But I think overall it works.
Yeah.
Nobody who has been nominated, I mean, it's taken time, but they will eventually get in.
I disagree.
Who are we missing?
There are guys that have been nominated that haven't.
No, I think eventually they will get in. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Like
I mean,
Welker.
we can just
I think Welker's eventually going to get in.
You have a lot more faith in that than I do.
I guess I do.
Like, I think there are going to be guys that aren't going to get in, or they're going to get in 20 years, and then what good is that?
Well, isn't that the same with the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Yes, there's flaws with that too.
Right, so there's no perfect thing.
Flaws. At least ours
I don't think that you can make it perfect. What's the perfect way for you?
I don't know what the perfect way is, but lining them up one at a time is, in my opinion, the worst way to do it. I think this.
So what's
this
better?
emailer? I think has a better.
You think
better way?
Yeah. I don't know. I think
like not everybody gets in, but if there's a lot of worthy candidates at once, they should go in.
All together?
Sure.
Also, last year I just
But
think
then you're going to run out.
No, you're not.
Last year just created a speed bump in the system, kind of, where if you knew Tom was going in no matter what and you're waiving the 4-year period, maybe still have the vote for everyone else because Tom's going in anyways.
Right. I think that screwed us up last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Brady in June and then like Vinatieri in August.
We should have still had a normal.
You're
Someone-
still having
someone
a
could have
normal
gone in
vote.
August. Has nothing to
And
do with what we
Adam
did in
Vinatieri
June.
can
Right.
go in
He
before
would have gone in
Edelman's
last
even
year, probably.
eligible, and then
Yeah.
you're putting in, and that's kind of poetic to put Vinatieri and Tom Brady in together, especially if Tom's just a shoo-in.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of, there are going to be years where you don't have one.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but that could happen. But there also could be years you have 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a ballot like this year, my guess is you would have gotten 3 guys in. Because you have 3 over-the-top worthy candidates. But that won't always be the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only fear, is just you get to a point where you're like, here's the 3.
But I just want to get to the point where people can sort of enjoy the experience of the recognition and not kind of like Bill Parcells, like right now, is what, mid-80s?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
it's great, but it would have been better for him if it was 10 years ago. You know, and that's just an example. There could be some players that by the time they get in, going one at a time, won't be able to enjoy it.
Well, didn't Leon Gray, right?
Yeah, but that was,
he
he passed early.
Right. But,
Yeah.
I mean, he was.
We didn't have this back then,
It's a long time ago.
Kamel from Georgia. I know the Hall of Fame is mostly about players, but what about coaches? Bill Belichick, and I'm assuming Josh McDaniels will get in. Do we see any other coaches getting in? I don't know about Josh.
I wouldn't make the last assumption.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Dante's in, and then Bill will get in when he's
Bill's automatic.
But we've talked a little bit about Chuck Fairbanks and his worthiness, especially now with Parcells going in.
I think Chuck Fairbanks is a strong candidate. I've argued on his behalf a couple of times. He's been on the ballot.
Yeah.
He's a guy who has been on the ballot, and he will never get in.
Yeah.
I feel like
unless he's put in by a committee, a separate committee. He's never going to get voted in.
Yeah, it's passed. Ray Berry, probably not. I mean, that's
never going to get voted in.
Yeah.
But should he?
I would say yes on Fairbanks, probably no on Berry.
Yeah.
But for the same reasons, in my view, Fairbanks kind of made the Berry teams.
Yeah.
That's why I give
Sure.
Fairbanks extra credit.
Yeah.
But there's no decisions who's in, who's out. That's where there's no set way. That's all individual. Like Fred and I always argue, we like a smaller hall. That's probably why, Fred, you push back on the multiples in a year, because you like smaller.
Yeah.
But
could you ever imagine that happening though with the committee, where you guys talk about people and you just say, I don't think we really have somebody. I know that's
not for the near future.
Away, but
not for the near future.
Based on the 11 or 12 nominations we get every single year,
the problem
and
is
the last 3 or 4 of them would stun you. First of all, they would make you go to the media guide, Evan, to figure out who these guys even were. But
old school people,
they're not.
I know who
necessarily Hall
Mosey
of Fame
Tutu
worthy.
is.
Yeah.
See, the system we have
There are
would be
others,
fine
that's
in
not
the
one.
Jets because they'd be struggling every year to find somebody.
Right.
I love how we've tied this in.
Nope.
We can't put them in every year.
I do feel like some of those older guys, though, like Chuck Fairbanks, now that my generation is starting to realize that you don't just win Super Bowls every year.
Yeah.
Like some of those guys, I don't know if we would vote for him necessarily, but
That's growth.
Yeah, but I think you start to
Fred
realize.
Marion's one of those.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday on Catch 22 about some of not just John Hanna, but Stanley Morgan and Mike Haynes and Andre Tippett and now it's they could probably use a Leon Gray or an Andre Tippett when the dynasty was rolling, it was
Sure.
whatever, right? But now I feel like there's maybe a little bit more appreciation for a Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Boston Dave writes in, Evan and Barth spoke about retired numbers yesterday, mentioning that 12 and 56 should never be issued again. Evan also mentioned 87 not being issued again. I know 57 has not been issued since Steve Nelson retired. Would you all be willing to issue 57 again? Absolutely.
Is 57 not retired?
I don't think it is.
Then why hasn't it been issued?
I don't know.
I have to double check on if it has or hasn't.
It should be.
But
you can't retire numbers in football.
There's a lot of retired numbers talk because of Abdul Carter trying to take Lawrence Taylor's
which I
number.
think is hilarious.
So that's come up, and I've seen some people. This is kind of what sparked it. I've seen a lot of people have the take of being anti-retired numbers altogether. We shouldn't retire any numbers. And
it should be just
it has to be so special.
Yeah, it should be like
Tom Brady.
And then no other retired
Well, that
number.
was just my only point. These people were no retired numbers at all. It's I'm sorry, but no one's wearing 12 again.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not happening.
Right.
I don't care what if you think that whoever else that's up there that probably shouldn't be up there. To some people, whatever, but 12 is that's different.
But the problem with football is unless you get into starting getting into triple digits or decimals, you always need at least 60 or some odd numbers available. You start retiring all these numbers and you're going to run out.
So according to Wikipedia,
which is a great source,
Steve Nelson's number is retired.
It is retired. See,
so it's 12 for Brady, obviously, 20 for Gino, 40 for Mike Haynes, 57 for Steve Nelson, 73 for John Hanna, 78 for Bruce Armstrong, 79 for Jim Lee Hunt, and 89 for Bob D. It's a funny story about the Bruce Armstrong one, but not sure we can talk about that.
Before, when the Sullivans here, they started retiring these numbers, and it was premature.
Yeah.
Like these guys shouldn't have their numbers retired.
Yeah, I would say that the defensive guys,
Yeah.
Steve Nelson is
He had a lot of
worthy,
tackles.
worthy of conversation.
He was a great
player.
Patriot.
He was a great player.
Patriots Hall of
period.
Famer, no doubt, but shouldn't have a retired number.
I like under your guys. Yes, you're right. Like guys shouldn't have retired numbers,
Right.
Because it's football.
Right.
But if you're going to talk about retiring numbers, he's in the conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I would say. I side more with Fred.
More so than like a Gronk, who
to me it's
he's
12.
the greatest
That would
tight
be
end
it.
of all
That would
time.
be the only number I would have retired.
Not even 73?
You've got the Hall
No.
of Fame. Retired numbers is a step above that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think 12 and 73 for the Patriots have to be retired.
I mean, I could
John
listen
Hanna?
to listen to that argument, but I would just say 12.
Yeah, I would say
Like
12.
it's everything. It's the accolades, individual. It's the titles. It's the
team achievement.
Everything that goes with
I
it.
mean, to me, seeing these numbers still in circulation, and I'll use 50 as an example for obvious reasons, but it brings back memories of those other players, and that 56 or just throw one out. You don't see it anymore. You kind of forget. It would be nice if you brought them back, and then maybe the player who wears that number has some kind of connection to the players who've worn it before.
Like McCourty,
Yeah, McCourty
bring
tweeting.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
That was nice.
Yeah.
He just tweeted about, was it Henderson wearing 32?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
It's a running back
cool
number.
to see. Like he's not salty about it. I think Devin's realistic in the fact that he's probably not going to get his number retired, and I don't know. It's cool, even if it's like it's a defensive player and an offensive player, but to just have some sort of connection to that new generation.
And he even made a joke out of it, saying it'd be good to see someone with some speed
Yeah.
wearing that number.
Devin, you were
fast. He just wanted everyone to
Humble.
you
Yeah.
went like 22.8
That's
miles
what-
per hour according to Next Gen.
That's what we
he
call
wants-
fishing. We're fishing
He
for
actually probably,
compliments.
I think he ran a faster 40 time than Travion Henderson did too. But like
he was fast.
We were also talking
Dev could
about,
run.
in college, like Will Campbell obviously had the 7 patch and this number 7 and 18 at LSU. Like I think it would be cool if like we had that a little bit in the NFL where like certain jersey numbers were like
55 at USC.
Yeah, or like
44 at Syracuse.
The one we talked about was 24 is like your star corner. Wears 24
Right.
because of Ty Law and
Yeah.
Revis and Gilmore all wore 24. So
And,
like
soccer, 10 is your playmaker.
Right. Like the numbers like that. Maybe like 54 is like the line, like the
Mike. 54 is the Mike.
starting Mike. Is 54.
I go 52,
Obviously, you'd have to
TJ.
earn it. Like we're not
Right.
just handing it out like it's
Right.
nothing. But like at this point, like I feel like Gonzo would like probably have would you could say would earn 24.
What do you think players would think about that? Because players have they come in with their own affinity to a number.
Right. I think that's like
They all have a brand.
That's obviously like the pushback on it. But like if
Maury
it,
with 7.
if it had the mystique though, as it does in college, like I feel like they would go for it.
I agree with Evan. Like Gonzo might be a different case because like again like branding, like the 0 and the Zoe, it makes sense and it's kind of natural for him to be wearing the 0. But if you're coming into a team and that's the history, that's the tradition, or it's a situation like a 10 in soccer, like you want to wear that for that reason.
So what's the 10 thing in soccer?
Top playmaker.
Top playmaker, yeah.
Really?
9 is the top goal scorer usually, like pure goal scorer.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
David says, I'm also looking forward to seeing the rival jerseys. Any idea when images will be available? I think in the summer they might be releasing it.
Yeah.
I think so.
Summer.
Yeah.
Be around training camp.
Around training camp? Yeah.
So.
And finally, I would love to see throwbacks this year be red pants with the white jersey. I think those are sharp.
They are sharp. That's Paul's favorite. Correct?
Yeah, I liked the white with the red in the late 70s.
Yeah.
There's a lot of color in the league then.
Looks good. Good stuff.
I don't know. We've had this discussion before. I just know back then people thought our uniforms were stupid, and now they're I love those. No, you didn't.
Don't confuse the logo with the uniform. It's not the same thing.
People didn't like the logo
Also,
back then.
I
They
feel
made
like the
fun
people
of
that
it.
like the Pat Patriot weren't even alive when they actually wore them regularly. So this is.
But I mean, do you have to be alive to look at something and say, do you like that or do you like this?
Yeah.
You
But I'm just saying, like people who were.
So they tried to change it. I've told you
Eric
the story.
Scalabrini is one of them.
Eric is he's like everything else with Eric. He's an obnoxious purist, but they had a contest in the late 70s. They were going to change the logo.
Yep.
And the new one that they had designed got booed out of the stadium.
Because it was terrible, right?
They loved it because they liked the Pat Patriot.
The alternative wasn't better. I'm telling you, I was a season ticket holder.
But you can say the alternative wasn't better. That means that the Pat Patriot was better.
No, I know, but it sucked. The other one sucked worse.
Okay. I don't think a lot that felt like that. I thought it was just an average
People,
run-of-the-mill.
they said
I used to think you looked like you
They
were taking
said
a
it looked
dump.
like a guy taking a dump.
I said that all the time.
He's spiking the ball in the required.
But this thing
something Deuce
is
would
awful.
say. Just like
I think this
immediately
flying
taking
Elvis
it there.
thing stinks.
That's fine.
But
Our problem
but
is
what
that
do I
our
care?
mascot is a human being. That's our problem.
You throwing shade at Pat Patriot?
You know,
I just saw him the other
it's
day in
not
the hallway. That's rude.
if you're gonna be a human being mascot, it's got to be like a pirate.
Oh.
You know, it's got to be like a character, fictional character. Ours is a Minuteman. You know, which is fine, but like
so like Lucky.
It's pretty cool.
Well, I don't even like Lucky. I don't like Lucky either.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a pirate. Well, now it just feels
Some
like
of
you're
these names.
anti-mascot.
That one at the top.
Oh yeah,
it's awful.
That's the one
that
that
looks
they,
like somebody in
Yeah,
photo,
that's not
like
good.
somebody
That's-
in MS
terrible.
Paint put it
you
together.
don't see the comparisons.
Oh, I see where they went.
We
with
eventually
it.
changed
I see
to
where
it,
they were
everybody.
going.
We get this?
Show-
Where's
yeah.
my one?
Yeah, there it is.
The one on the
Oh
top.
man, come on! Ours is now is much better than
But
that.
it's based on the Elvis.
Yeah,
but the
it's-
Elvis is much better than that. Come
That's
on.
terrible.
Oh,
They're both
stop.
terrible. But it literally got booed out. Like they had a fan vote, like at the
I can
stadium.
see why they did.
And that's how it was a game against
I mean,
the
that
Chargers.
looks like
in case
no
you wondered.
offense. That looks like a like
It was awful. That
like an
logo was
elementary
awful.
school kid did
No,
that.
I'm not
Like-
arguing on behalf of this logo. That logo was terrible.
No,
The one that they tried, and people literally started chanting, "We want the old one."
Just nostalgia, right? Like that's what people love.
Yes, I
they
remember
didn't
these
I think
things.
so,
love
yeah.
it. They didn't love it,
Yes.
but now it is what it was. That's
Let's see. Claire writes in, "Hello, everybody. Hello, Marina.
Hey, girl.
She says, I'm with Paul and Deuce. Too many numbers are retired. You shouldn't see anyone in 12 ever again, but put the rest back in circulation. It's more fun. Oh, except 87.
Well, that's not
of
retired.
course. Claire, she needs her tight end number.
Yeah, I just feel there's probably too many numbers retired. I'm with Fred on that.
Yeah, me too.
Tyler from Georgia says Chicago Pope should be played by Dan Aykroyd, and instead of a sitcom, it should be the plot of Blues Brothers 3.
I feel like
we,
we're really
we haven't nailed the actor
walking
yet.
the line of disrespect.
Of Chicago Pope?
No,
Of the
of
Pope
religion.
in
Oh.
general.
Well, are you confirmed in the Catholic Church, Pope?
I am.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a solo
Evan would not
dolo.
win
I
him.
did my first communion. But
James Pettigrew, the
You
most.
already tapped out after first communion?
I did.
Ah.
I was allowed.
No.
So now
It started to interfere with basketball and soccer,
I'm
and my
starting-
mom
I'm
was like,
starting to,
"I
channel
cannot
my
keep
inner
up
Alex.
with
Did you
this."
just disagree? I'm not doing that.
No, I actually didn't mind it at all. It was more my mom like lugging me to soccer, to dance, to gymnastics, to basketball.
Something's
to
gotta
Something
give.
had to
and then
go.
CCD.
Yeah,
It was CCD.
And also
You're out.
her and my grandmother, like, I think it was part my mom rebelling against her mother by taking me out.
Interesting.
But I never made my confirmation, so I can't
So,
get married in a Catholic
My
church.
two children are in the same exact. They both received communion, and I
Yep.
did the same thing. There was just too many extracurriculars, but
Yeah.
it was not rebelling against my mother.
She's still mad about it?
It's fear that someday she's going to wake up and say, "Hey, why were they not confirmed?" I don't think she's really thought about it.
No.
Yeah, can't get married in a
Hopefully she's
Catholic
not
church.
I did all this stuff, but in I think junior in high school, I told my mother I'm not going to church anymore, and she's like, "Oh, they usually don't do that until college."
I love the role playing.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. I was done. I'm done with it.
No. Mine was Easter Mass out in California. My sister was visiting.
Wait,
and we're
Maddie,
like,
one more
trying to
time.
be good Catholics.
My mother's dream for me was to be a priest.
Oh, really?
He
She
went
didn't want grandkids?
Pretty different direction there.
And now you work for the
Whoa.
Friars.
When I was in
She wanted me to be the bishop. She wanted me to be his helper. You know what I mean? Like,
when I was in Catholic school, like third grade, they taught
away
us
from that
that they taught us that you have the same chance of going to heaven as putting an elephant through the eye of a needle, right? But priests they're closer. They have a closer connection to God. So I thought, okay, I want to go to heaven.
You gotta maximize
I got
your
no
chances.
shot at it, so I better be a priest. So I told the nuns that, okay, I want to be a priest. So, like,
Oh, there you're like a star child now.
But,
like,
but at the same time, I was a
You spontaneously combusted.
like I was a person who got in trouble a lot.
So this is the
So they would
sitcom
hold
idea.
the Chicago Pope is
They-
a
right,
Right,
Fred's a
the
character.
screenplay,
So-
the bagged streets
so-
of Chicago.
Right. So they would hold this against me. You know, you want to be a priest, but you're misbehaving. Blah blah blah. So one day,
Father Fred.
Sister Berkman stood me up in front of the class, and she had these
With a ruler?
color pictures of a priest performing mass. And she said, this is in front of the class. She said to me, do you want these? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take them. She goes, all right, well, you have to promise from now on you'll be good. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like, I figured if I did that, then I'd be lying. Like, how can, like, a 5th grade kid or whatever grade it was promise to be good for the rest of their lives?
Yeah.
So I said no. Oh,
To a woman of God at that.
I was thinking on multi-level.
She freaked out. Let her to the home, to my parents, the whole thing.
Man.
Yeah.
That's what we got. So we got Chicago Pope is the 8 o'clock hour, and then at 9 o'clock comes Father Fred, a little lighter, a little more fun, you know.
Wouldn't it be the other way around?
No, Father Fred is one of the characters in Chicago Pope.
Yes.
Oh, I was trying to give you your own. I was trying to give you your own
Well, the
show.
spin-off
Just
could
trying
come
to get
later.
him on the
Spin-off
straight
could come
and
later.
narrow.
And
Sounds like a spin-off.
There's like a sister Susan, and she's hot, but she's a nun.
Will they or won't
so
they?
it's like she's the forbidden fruit. Like you can't have her, but all the guys want her.
Oh,
Stephanie
Father
Beecham,
Fred.
Sister Kate. That was really a show.
Right?
I mean,
Well, I think we got something
NBC's
here.
going to
I think
own
we might.
Wednesdays. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Catholic Wednesdays on NBC.
We need to workshop this.
Father Fred. He does things a little different.
Season premieres on the first day of Lent.
Right.
Or Fat Tuesday. That'd make more sense.
You come in on Friday, and he's got like a roast beef he's cutting.
Yeah, in Australia, it's Saturday. Who cares?
Oh, Father Fred.
Right. This collar's hot.
We're all gonna die.
Except me. 'Cause this ain't my God,
Father,
man.
forgive me for my sins.
Not my God. Not my God.
And then he's got the rabbi friend, and he's like Jackie Mason. He's like, there you go.
You're in, bro. You're
He's
in.
like, oh, you priest, you think you're supposed to make sure, huh?
We can all be friends. That's
You
okay.
think
I
you
mean,
got a better shot at
sometimes.
going to heaven than I do? Just because you're rich.
I mean, there's some pretty famous times
I
when
love
we
it.
weren't friends.
Jackie Mason
I know
as
it.
the rabbi.
They meet up at the Jewish deli, kind of
Right,
like Seinfeld.
right,
That's
right.
where
Yeah.
they, you know, Fred has his knish.
How
I
was
mean,
your
why do
day?
we have to be so stereotypical? Like, why does it have to be?
Take
Why do we have
pride
to
in
talk
your
like
delis.
this?
You should.
Like,
Look at us. We're a walking joke. We walk into the deli. Everybody makes a joke. All right.
Good stuff.
wow.
James Pettigrew, the most interesting Patriots fan in the world. He says, take the vote out of the fans' hands. I used to spend hours locked in the toilet making prank phone calls to Comcast as Steve H. And I'm considered a cultured Patriots fan. No one over 50 is voting online for anything.
Really?
You should not be on the toilet longer than 10 minutes.
I'm over 50. I vote for online.
This is a gut health thing.
It's a significant increase in your risk for colorectal cancer.
What?
Being on the toilet longer than 10 minutes, just playing on your phone.
Oh,
I don't.
It's a.
I'm not playing on my
risk to
phone.
your what?
Colorectal.
Sounds like the phone is the problem.
Why? Because of the
Colon
fumes?
cancer.
Like, why?
No, the phone.
Maybe it has
Careful.
something to do with the blood rushing to your butthole. It could be.
Well, you're not sitting there for 10 minutes grunting. Like
be
you're
the
just playing on your phone.
The exposure from the
I've
bacteria
heard
in the
of people
bowl.
getting hemorrhoids
up.
from having too
That
difficult
too.
a time on the
Hemorrhoids
toilet.
or
yeah,
colon
yeah.
cancer.
No,
Pick your
that's true.
poison.
This is not one of the better segments.
No, but
Alex usually, I'm like, she knows exactly. This one, I'm not
I'm
sure.
not so
This
sure
one,
about
I'm
this
like,
one.
she's like,
Just
well, what
sitting
if
there?
the blood rush into your butthole?
You know what? We gave
No, I
her
was just giving
too much power too soon. That's what happened. Now she's got to look it up. She's on AI
I don't
now.
have to look it up. I
Here it
know
is.
it. I
I
just
mean,
don't
I
know
know.
the minutia
I know
of it.
it.
I don't know if I want to know the minutia of it.
I'm just
I don't wanna
hiding
know.
over here.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Off season. There we go.
Oh, that Tommy Malik guy's 5'11".
Yeah, we're making a really big deal of Tommy Malo right now, and I'm not really sure why. They've like had him on
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Good Morning Football for like all day. I feel like. I
Well,
keep
you know
seeing
there's just
this guy.
reruns. It's the same show, right?
Yeah. There's no good afternoon football.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour show that they
They
run
just-
over and over.
Okay,
show.
valid, but still, I've seen him. It's a 2-hour show, and I think 150
Yeah.
minutes of it have been Tommy Malo.
Yeah, be a longer than
They got to
2-hour
fill a show too.
Hour and 10 minutes.
They
I meant.
can't talk about
Sorry,
Father
Matt.
There we
Fred
have
and
it.
Chicago Pope.
I was up late last
I
night
was
trying to
giving-
fix the Celtics. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's not working
true.
well.
It is true. I got
Isaac,
no socks now.
Isaac in Portland, Maine. I take exception with Alex saying Slater is just a special teamer, the person who emailed in, I think. He is one of, if not, the greatest special teamer in NFL history and certainly in Patriots history. He deserves it. Also, a Patriots and Knicks fan, go root for the Jets, bozo.
Oh.
It's strange.
I meant that in terms of like he plays special teams, not he's just a special teamer.
I think
But
that we were
That's a
talking
good
about the
Andyism.
emailer. I
Yeah.
don't think they were talking about you because
he said he took exception with what Alex said.
I thought that there
That's-
was an Alex who was an emailer.
No,
But maybe.
a lot of
I
Alexes.
don't know.
There's a lot of Alexes.
Because I don't. Yeah, you didn't say it like
Well,
that.
that was-
I'm Matthew Slater's biggest fan.
Yeah.
That was still cracking me up, the discussion where we're like, Pop Douglas, he's one of Drake May's weapons, but he's not a weapon.
Right. That's it. That's an Andyism. It's one of the few things that I actually use that he brought to the table. On a consistent, there's a difference between a guy
Really
who
smart.
gets 10 sacks and a 10-sack guy.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
That's how it.
I love
believe,
it. I know exactly what you're talking
I
about.
believe that's how it originated with Mark Anderson.
Uh-huh.
Is a guy who had 10 sacks, but he's not necessarily a 10-sack guy.
That's fair. I mean, that in that case, that was.
But that's how we use it,
Yeah.
And it's like when you say a lot of times when you watch a receiver who runs a 4.2, but he doesn't play to that. There's a difference between a 4.2 guy and a guy who runs a 4.2.
Taekwon runs a 4.2, but he's not a 4.2.
Tyreek Hill is a 4.2 guy.
Yeah.
But he might not run a 4.2
Yeah.
anymore. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like his
Yep.
play speed is clearly faster than everybody else.
There was a lot of guys like that in this draft that ran a lot faster than I thought they would, and I was like, no, not passing the eye test.
Yeah.
No,
Play speed.
play speed over time speed all day.
So James Pettigrew also brings up another point. We're talking about retired numbers and how that's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Then what is a statue?
Oof.
Higher pinnacle.
Yeah. That's,
So that's even
that's
the
Tom
higher
Brady.
pinnacle.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big
We s-
statue guy.
We still doing that Brady statue? What's that happening?
It's got to line up.
Yeah.
We'll see when the schedule comes out if we have what the Fox
Yeah.
games are. Maybe we can line that up.
See, it's like he's
Because I kind of think he needs to be here when you do it, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
would
they
think.
did.
Like when they revealed the Rocky statue.
That's
in
exactly
Rocky
what I was
3.
gonna say.
Like, you can't just like have Rocky not there.
No.
Hey,
just don't let Culver Lang show up,
Right.
and
What a-
hopefully Tom,
what a
if
real
he's in
man
some
is
down
like.
days, doesn't
Come
ride his
on,
motorcycle
Palmer
by
tonight.
and throw his helmet at the statue.
Oh yeah,
Feeling
because he's
angst.
angry because
The old man ain't got no heart.
well he died. I mean it was sad.
Me?
Yeah.
Paul's just recreating the sound effects of the movie. Ding!
Somebody get a doctor.
Jack and Inaba.
That's a
Different movie.
Sorry.
Different movie.
See? You see what happens?
Just comes out of me.
That's 4.
Jack and Inaba
Great film.
hitting on another subject we were talking about. He says, I lived in Chicago for nearly a decade, so I speak with credibility when I say that Chicago is similar to Boston in 2 significant ways. First, both Chicago and Boston have large Irish communities that have a long history of involvement in city politics.
And corruption.
Involvement in city politics is one way to put
involvement.
it.
Second, like Boston, Chicago is home to 2 of the nation's most distinguished universities, the University of Chicago and Northwestern. I am not presuming to say that those schools are equal to Harvard and MIT.
Yeah, I don't know about
Well,
that.
Megan might disagree, but
Yeah,
that's
I would say they're excellent schools, but I just would say that Boston has much more than just Harvard and MIT.
Northeastern, to name one.
I mean,
right?
there's a lot more than just that.
I just felt like it was the vibe was similar, like
I mean, Tufts.
similar
Tough.
feel to the city and
Yeah.
like
people that said that to me about San
Waterfront
Francisco,
cities,
which I
too.
didn't feel. I didn't feel
No.
San Francisco was Boston-y. I didn't
no,
get
I've heard that
vibe.
about Seattle too. That Seattle's a little Boston-y.
A little bit. I
Yeah,
see that.
but I've never.
I like Seattle. I like Seattle better.
I've
than
actually
San
really heard that about Vancouver, but I've
Francisco.
I've never been to Vancouver.
never been there either.
Nope. All right, let's get some phone calls wrapped up here. We're coming down
Oh,
the
yeah.
home stretch.
leave 'em
Matthew's in
hanging.
Arizona. What's up, Matthew? He was holding on for a long time, so he gave up.
I think he had a review of Chicago Pope.
Yeah, or maybe he's going. Is that a real show? Noah is in Toronto. What's up, Noah?
Toronto.
Noah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey,
Yeah.
yes.
Is it raining?
No. So I wanted to ask with the draft and the free agency over, if there was one thing you could change about their off season, what change would you make? And I'll give my answer. I think looking back, I would have made the DK Metcalf trade, give up a second for him. I think it ended up being essentially Travion Henderson, Stephon Diggs, and maybe like $5 to $10 extra million for DK Metcalf. And I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about Diggs being 32 coming off a torn ACL, and I don't see running backs as that valuable. So I think Metcalf would have been better in my opinion. But curious if you guys could make one change to their offseason.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that was what immediately came to mind.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like his
So would you
suggestion.
rather have Metcalf than Henderson?
No.
No.
I would.
I probably.
But I'm going to
will.
go the wide receiver or the running back. That's not a personal.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's the one fair second guess. Like if you're going to second guess anything, it's probably that. I don't know. I mean, I probably take DK also. He's also a proven commodity.
In Noah's scenario, I would still want Diggs too. Like that wouldn't preclude you making that trade for DK Metcalf. Shouldn't have eliminated adding Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
I would have done both.
I like the archivist question. Rodney's in Delaware. What's up, Rodney?
No one get it. No one got it, Fred. Fell flat.
Rodney. He was on for over an hour, so I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Okay, he's gone.
Well, plus, we haven't exactly been on point.
If we had had Dallas Clark on this show, Rodney here would have come on there.
I don't know.
Might have offended some people.
Good point, dude.
Dallas Clark
Didn't
never
do
did a
nothing
thing against Rodney Harry.
So Pascal in New York City has an explanation of how someone could be both a Knicks fan and a Patriots fan.
Oh, okay. Well, it makes total sense to me.
He says some people don't seem to get how this works. Some of us grew up in the part of New England that's also the New York City metro area. I'm a Patriots, Yankees, Rangers, UConn fan because I grew up in Fairfield County, Connecticut.
There it is.
Patriots and Knicks are perfectly logical.
Yeah.
I think you can have favorite teams.
Right.
I don't have any respect for that.
Fred?
Connecticut.
That's why you don't hear Fred making fun of this guy.
No.
No, I don't. I was a Broncos fan.
Name a title winner.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fred was a fan.
No, it wasn't because of that. Because when I was a Broncos fan, they had never won anything.
No, Fred liked a lot of different teams.
It was just I like the AFC. I like Willie Lanier and the Chiefs. Like I gravitated to the AFC West for some reason.
I did too.
That's
no way.
We got an AI Father Fred.
It's Father Fred.
Father Fred.
Send me that.
Your what is it?
So natural.
Your eminence fiddlesticks. My name's Fred.
If you told me that was the new pope and you were showing us that the first time,
There
I'd be
he
like, wow. Looks like Fred.
Oh, that's funny.
Is it Your Excellency? What is it?
Yeah.
Your Grace. Your Grace.
Your Grace.
Your Excellency fiddlesticks. My name's Fred.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I don't know. I know this is gonna probably get me some heat, but just pick one city and their teams. Like
well, that's what I do, but I'm
I'm sorry.
You've never had a weird draw to
like
another team at all, though, ever? I was a Seahawks guy for some reason.
No.
I still don't know why. I liked Steve Largent, and I liked the Seahawks growing up. I don't know why.
But did you like the Seahawks? Like if they played the Patriots, you'd root for the Seahawks over?
No, I don't know.
No.
Nah,
Okay.
I don't know.
I know there's a lot of people
that's-
like that, so I'm not trying to throw too much shade. I just personally when you're from Boston and you like all the Boston teams, you're maybe a little bit bigger of a fan than people that are from a different state that are I'm a Patriots, Cowboys, Celtics.
And that's what I was
Bruins
going to
fan.
say.
No,
Patriots Knicks isn't nearly as bad as a Patriots Lakers fan or Patriots Lakers
right
Inc.,
or a
you
Dallas Lakers fan, which happens. Cowboys Lakers happens a lot.
See,
and then throw the Yankees in there too.
I had a lot of teams that I liked, but my teams were the 4 Boston teams. But I had a lot of friends that liked all kinds of different teams. Like when we were growing up, Fred and I there were a lot of people that didn't like the Patriots necessarily.
Well, you could never watch them.
They weren't any good.
Yeah.
And they weren't on TV.
So, when I was
kinda
little,
when I
it was
was too.
Dallas-Pittsburgh all the time. And you picked one of those 2 teams.
Right.
I always rooted for Dallas. They
Yeah.
always lost.
The
to
only
Pittsburgh.
team that I ever got into that was a little, I was the Clippers because they're not the Lakers, so there's no rivalry with the Celtics. When I was living out there, that was Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, JJ Redick. They were really good. So I went to a bunch of Clippers games, but I never was caring. It was just fun to go.
You never root for the Clippers over.
No,
the Celtics.
and then when the Celtics would come to town, I'd go to that game and green.
I tried to do
I get
it.
your Seattle thing.
Yeah, I tried
that
to do it
late
with the
70s
Dodgers.
Seattle team.
Yeah.
They were fun. The
I
Jim
don't-
Zorn, Steve Largent
I
teams.
just like Steve Largent.
Jack
I don't even
Patera.
know why. I had the football cards, but I tried to do the Dodgers too. I couldn't. You can't make yourself be a fan. I don't think that's possible.
But
I
the
couldn't make
Clippers
myself care.
The Clippers was pretty
until
easy
it's
because Doc
playoffs.
Rivers was the coach at the time.
Yeah.
And JJ Redick's one of my favorite players, so he was on the Clippers. So that team was it was easy to
we were
root
just
for.
destined to argue, you and I.
But you make
JJ Redick's one of your all-time
I mean-
favorite players. Oh, did I hate JJ Redick?
I mean, Paul makes fun of me, but until 8th grade, I lived in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So I was a Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and Jets fan.
I don't make fun of you for that.
I read the Brad Park book, and he called the Boston
Explains a
fans
lot,
Bush
doesn't it?
League, and then he got
Everything
traded
else.
to the Bruins. So that's kind of like how I was.
Kind of explains a lot.
You know? Anyway. All right, that's
it's
going to be
It's
it.
more like the Denver thing. Like all of a sudden, Denver's good and Fred's a big.
No, it wasn't all of a sudden. I was a
crush.
Denver fan when Craig Morton was the quarterback.
And they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I was a fan before they went to the Super Bowl. That was the payoff. And I became even more of a fan. Then when Elway became quarterback, I became even more of a fan.
And they went to 4 Super Bowls.
Right.
What you said, though, Paul, resonated with me.
But I invested early, is
maybe,
my point.
Maybe 5.
I was an early investor.
That's smart. But like growing up here, I was in the 80s, even when the Patriots went to a Super Bowl. I remember like one of my best friends was a huge 49ers fan. Like he had all 49ers stuff.
I have a million friends like that.
People
I have a tough
love the
time with
winners. Yeah.
Sorry. I know.
He still likes the 49ers for what it's worth.
All right. That's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. I hope everyone has a good weekend. What's the weekend supposed to be like around here?
Saturday rain.
Rain Saturday. Supposed to be beautiful for Mother's Day.
I got a lot of stuff to do. All right.
Call your moms.
Yeah, call your moms. Make sure you take care of her. And you guys going out, doing brunch or anything like that?
No.
We got some
maybe.
plans.
You got some plans?
Let's see. Gotta go to church for Father Fred though. You know?
Good. Father Fred's giving mass.
Church in the morning, then brunch.
Get your sermon ready.
You got to do it with I'll have to develop a Chicago accent. Yeah, you know.
It's Chicago church night.
time to work on it.
I'll workshop that off air. All right. See you next Tuesday.
Hey, this is Alex. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.